This time, I would like to recognize the LA to take roll.
Senator Ronnie M. Calvo.
Present.
Senator Manny Gregory T. Castro. Senator Francisco Q. Cruz.
Here.
Senator Jude U. Hofschneider. Senator Karina L. Magofian.
Present.
Senator Donald M. Manglonia.
Present.
Senator Paul A. Manglonia. Mr. Chairman, 4 members are present, 3 members are absent.
Thank you, Devin. With 4 members present, we have the quorum to proceed with today's committee meeting. And before we introduce the adoption of the agenda, I'd like to recognize the LA staff assisting the committee. We have our legal counsel, Joe Bermudez, our LAs, Jolyn Duenas-Tagabo, and Devin Macaranos. We have our Sergeant at Arms, John De Leon Guerrero, and our Youth Congress coordinator, LJ Castro, our IT, Del Camacho. And with that, the 3 members absent are excused. I believe Senator Castro will be making his way and joining us shortly. And so with that, members, can I get a motion for the adoption of today's agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All right, there was a motion made and was seconded. Any objection? There being none, motion passes. We now move down to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to make comments today? There being none, public comment portion is closed. We now move down to the next item on the agenda, invited testimonies. Members and to the viewing public, we have in front of us the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs. The department, under the budget submission, there are 9 divisions that is presented. And of that 9 division, under the Secretary of DCCA, the Secretary had submitted a budget request of $340,812. The administration's proposal dropped that down to $308,497. However, but then what was adopted or passed by the House maintained the administration's proposal. Under DYS, the division submitted a request of $444,000. The administration's proposal increased it up to $525,000. However, the House version that was passed approved an amount of $387,000. Under the Child Care Licensing Program, the division submitted a request of $259,000. The administration had proposed $204,000. The House version brought it down to $174,000. HPO submitted a request of $289,000. The administration's proposal dropped it down to roughly $2,000, or reduced it by $2,000. The House version maintained that amount at $287,000. Office on Aging submitted a budget request of $897,000. Administration proposed $410,000, more than half of what they've requested. The House version dropped it further down to $233,000. CCA, or Council for Arts and Culture, submitted a request of $418,000. The administration had proposed $231,000. The House dropped it down to $208,000. Under the Low Income Energy Assistance Program, the division had submitted a request of $270,000. Governor's proposal dropped it to $219,000. The House version maintained that amount. Chamorro Canadian Language Commission submitted a request of $265,000. The administration's proposal dropped it down to 212,000. The House version dropped it down to 172,000. Then lastly, we have the nutrition assistance program at a request of 288,000. The administration's proposal dropped it down to 163,000. The House maintained that amount. And just from the looks of it, a lot of the reduction in the governor's proposal had to do with the elimination of vacant FTEs for the most part. And so I'm not sure if the department has had the time to see those changes. And so with that, I will now recognize the acting secretary to provide any remarks.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and honorable members of this committee. Unfortunately, we have not seen the House version, but we're making note of what you had just shared with us earlier. However, we are requesting to be given the opportunity to kind of state and justify some of our program needs in hopes for consideration with the Senate. So without further ado, we did put together a quick PowerPoint just to kind of summarize our services. And I know many of you guys are aware of the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, but just to quickly kind of take a deeper understanding into the programs. So we are a very huge department, a lot of human and social services involved. Several of our divisions are also tasked on historic preservation and of course cultural preservation. So with me today are our division and program heads, and I'll go ahead and quickly introduce them. So for the Secretary's office, I do have Ramona Camacho here also on behalf of the Secretary. And then for the Chamorro Carolina Language Policy Commission, again, Ms. Ramona Camacho, who is currently the acting Executive Director for CCLPC. Child Care Licensing Program, we have our Supervisor, Mr. Gordon Salas. Child Care and Development Fund Program Administrator is with us today, Ms. Maribel Loste. Our Executive Director for Commonwealth Council for Arts and Culture, Ms. Gloriana Mankea, Tuwira, and of course myself for DYS. And then we have our State Historic Preservation Acting Officer, Martha Yifteg, and our Historic Preservation Officer, Murdy Canny, with us here today. We do have our program coordinator for the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, Ms. Rissel Billy, who's also in the gallery. And we also have our NAP administrator, Mrs. Margaret Aldon, with us here today. And last but not least, we have our director for the Office on Aging, Mr. Walter Manglonia. So we'll just give a quick glance. We'll have a quick glance on our funding distribution. And if you guys, I'm hoping that most of you guys received the PowerPoint copy, but we do have, just to paint a little bit picture of our pot, 2% of our funding pot is local, and then the majority, which is 98%, is coming from federal funds. And then out of that pot, it's broken down into our IDC, our personnel, operations, and of course, the biggest one of all is the direct client benefits. So we have 1% in IDC, 9.1%, both local and federal put together, is allocated to personnel. About 1.7 is on operational, and then again, the rest are in direct client benefits. So we'll begin with the Secretary's office. The Secretary's office is actually 100% local, and with a total of 8 FTEs. And then we'll move over to the CCLPC, which is also 100% local. And we have 5 FTEs under the Language Policy Commission. And then a little bit of the data is shared along with the program financials. So with CCLPC, we have 57 translations and 3 media coverage in their data report. And then we'll move over to child care licensing. Child care licensing, again, is 100% locally funded with 4 FTEs and serving this much licensed providers and children involved in the licensed facilities. Next, we have the Child Care Development Fund, which is 100% federally funded. We do have 15 FTEs, and the majority of their funding, which is again federal, is going to direct client benefits. And these are the breakdown of their services in the numbers in daycare centers. We have the relative care providers and the after-school programs. Moving on to the Arts Council, we do have some local funding appropriation here as well as federal. 45% of their funding is local, federal, and 55% is local with 9 FTEs. Along with their program data for the year activities. Moving on to the Division of Youth Services, we do have a split of local and federal funding source. 19% is coming from the local funding and 81% is coming from federal. We do have a total of 38 employees. A snapshot of our data for FY 2024. These are the numbers of families or clients that we serve. The 1,387 there is our prevention, which is the community in general. But as you can see on this chart, our child abuse and neglect victims is a total of 1,429. As we speak, we have already passed that and the fiscal year is not even over. Moving on to HPO. Again, a share between local and federal funding source, 40 local and 60% federal, with a total of 12 employees. 8 in the local and 5 in the federal with co-shared funding. And then a snapshot of their data, the services for HPO. Continuing on HPO, we do have our disaster grant, which has ongoing projects, a total of 28 projects to date. As mentioned, they are ongoing, and then Ms. Camacho can answer more questions on the status of these projects. I know that the funding has been extended, so projects are moving along. And next we have the LIHEAP. LIHEAP, we are in a unique situation, and I will allow the supervisor to kind of share updates as we have our LIHEAP office actually not included in the FY 2026 of Trump's proposal. So she'll be sharing a little bit on that. And to give you an idea of how many families are being served under the LIHEAP program, 274 households involving 286 children and 357 adults. Moving on to another big division, which is SNAP, 100% federally funded, and a total of 46 employees. Again, all federally funded, but there is a request under NAP in terms of funding the matching for the Sunbox, which is the summer EBT program. Data on the number of households that are being served, number of individuals being served on the 3 respective islands. We do average about 4 million of benefits monthly, and today we have over 5,000 households that are being served. And then we have Aging, who also has partly local and majority federal, who will be requesting or justifying the request today. A total of 12 FTEs under federal and 5 FTEs under local, with their data on their services for Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. So, Vice Chair, the numbers that were originally proposed and the numbers that were submitted through the administration, then given the numbers that you had just read out earlier on the House version, there's quite a significant difference as far as I know for the majority of our divisions. So if given the opportunity, we would like to also go around and kind of share a little bit on our ask and the reasons for the requests.
Well, thank you for your presentation, Acting Secretary. Based on your request, please feel free to recognize the divisions, and then we'll go ahead and allow them to make their presentation.
Okay, so maybe we'll start on the far right for our child care licensing program, Mr. Gordon Salas.
Thank you, V. Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Gordon Salas, Child Care Licensing Program Chairman or Vice Chair. The administration's number and the House version is also new to all of us. And so the House version actually is covering all just personnel. When I was in the House on the budget hearing, I requested for 1 FTE. And basically the reason why I'm requesting for an FTE because we've grown in the program for the child care licensing. I only have 1 safety inspector. I've actually reappointed a data specialist to be an interim safety inspector to cover all the inspection. Some of the duties of the inspector is not only to conduct on-site inspection, they also respond to licensing complaints. They do investigation and enforcement actions. And so my worry is the bottleneck effect that's happening right now in the program, where it's staying on one side, and I'm trying to alleviate that, but having an additional personnel become a safety inspector. So that's my ask and my need.
Thank you. Sorry, Acting Secretary, while we go through each division, can you just go to their slides that has the funding with the federal and local share, please?
Sure.
Mr. Salas, currently the 4 FTEs are locally funded, correct?
That's right.
And there are no federal funds that assist in any, whether it be operations?
Yes. Actually, the Child Care and Development Fund program is actually assisting my office in some operation and supplies. So for example, utilities, powers and utilities, we don't pay any of that because we get assistance from that federal program, which is the Child Care and Development Fund.
Are any, if we provide you with the FTE absent any funding for that, is that something that the child care program can assist with?
I'm gonna actually have to leave that with the administrator to speak on that behalf.
Okay. Members, any questions for Mr. Salas before we move on to the next division? I recognize Vice President.
Thank you, Vice. Just quick clarification. So the additional FTE that you requested at the House is for an inspector, correct?
That's correct.
And if, for whatever reason, federal funds can't fund it, how much are we looking at on the local side?
On the local side, we're looking at 30,000.
Okay. That's all I have, Chair. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you.
Any other members? None. Well, before we proceed, I'd like to recognize the presence of Senator Castro and Senator Paul Manglonia. All right. Thank you, Mr. Salas. Next division.
Good afternoon, Vice and members. Well, this year, we requested for additional FTEs to be able to kind of help us grow our capacity in terms of being able to deliver more efficient services for our elders. And this is largely due to the increase of clients that we currently serve, CNMI-wide, Saipan, Rhoda, and Tinian. In my budget request, we requested funding for repairs and maintenance. This is due to the high number of vehicles that we currently have, our air conditioners, and some building repairs that are essential on the islands of Saipan, Rhoda, and Tinian that has been slowly and progressively being fixed, but I feel like with the additional funding would definitely take care of it as soon as possible. So here in Saipan, we were able to receive federal assistance under the CIP grants to be able to start working on the restroom here at the Saipan Senior Center. I was just in Tinian a couple of days ago, and I saw their restroom, and the facility definitely needs upgrade, and we want to make sure that everything's addressed and taken care of, especially for our seniors. And of course, Rhoda, with their ongoing situation right now, we did meet with an engineer that gave us a quotation, and at that moment, we've also received offers from the mayor to assist with finances in that regard. But that doesn't address everything around the building, because we want to make sure that we tackle some of the leaks around the building, the drainage, the surroundings, the other rooms that haven't been occupied right now. We want to make sure that the place is ADA compliant for the safety of our elders. There's a lot of outdated, we have buildings and that's been around for almost 3 decades. So we are spending a lot of our federal grants upkeeping these. So we want to make sure that we try to address that as one of the priorities, because this will definitely eliminate any potential liability. And in the long run, we want to make sure that we provide the best center and equipment that we can use for our elders. In the past several years, we have not received any utility funding, which is a cause of concern, because whenever we apply for federal grants, they are very clear, and I have emails here that could literally paint a picture that one of my grants was returned because we needed to emphasize that there's going to be state funding, in our case local funding, in place before we use federal grants to pay for utilities. And for the past 3 years, we have not received any utility funding, which is a cause of concern. And I had to do a reassurance that this is going to be communicated with our leaders. And without fail, we need to see that money in our budget effective October 1st, or our program will definitely be in jeopardy. Food items. This is the bulk of my request. Conservatively, I was asking for $300,000. And this is basically being able to not only afford, the meals, but at the same time make sure that we mitigate any potential shortfalls in the upcoming years. So I want to give you guys an example. Here in Saipan, at $3.75 per meal, that's almost nothing. We are going to be short in our contract, our annual contract, by the end of November. And the reason for that is because when we do a contract, we put a high end of what we currently have in terms of numbers of clients, and then we have new clients enrolling, and we don't place those clients on waiting lists. We shouldn't. The Manamco needs their food. So we end up cutting corners, and I'm sure you guys are on Facebook and you guys are seeing some of the disappointments. That's only a fraction of what I hear every single day. You know, director, the food could be better. Director, why are you giving us basa instead of salmon? And, you know, it breaks my heart to tell them, I wish I could afford it. You know what I mean? So we're cutting corners to be able to feed our elders something that meets the nutritional guideline. They do meet the nutritional guideline. It's just not the preference that I wish I could be serving them. And that's the honest truth. We haven't served milk in 3 years. And a lot of our elders, especially when they're aging, they do need that, you know, support. But I don't want to come back and say, you know what, I didn't get the money from our legislators. Like, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But the reality is, every year, we've earned our program $1,500,000 some dollars. And I know it could be misleading when you see that amount, because you're like, wow, what are you talking about? You have a lot of money. But if you take a closer look into the grants, every specific grant has a purpose. And only 3 of our grants that totals a little bit over $500,000 is for food. I've been on grants.gov. I've searched, and I'm the grant writer in my program. So I get all of our federal funds, 100%. So if it's there, I get it. Competitive, discretionary, whatever. I spend time, work on weekends, work at night to be able to try to help, you know, our CNMI, because I know we're all going through a lot, right? And I don't want to come here and, you know, kind of just say, oh, I'm the only one suffering. There's a lot of programs out there that are just as important, if not more. But to me, the Manamco are the most important things. So this is my area, and I want to be here to make sure that I communicate effectively. And I want to let you guys know that you guys are doing so much for our islands, and I applaud you guys for that. I'm sorry that I have to give you guys this extra burden, but if there's anything that you guys can help us out with, I really appreciate it. In addition to that, I am requesting for a couple of vehicles, and one of our Manamco came up to me just a week ago and said, Director, just because we're Manamco doesn't mean that our cars should be Manamco too. You know what I mean? And it's so amazing that, and I know Senator Karina, you spent time with our Manamco. They don't blame anybody. And that's the sad part, because they're like, ay, Deleo, what can we do? What can we do? You know, our islands are suffering, you know. Just make sure they don't touch our retirement. I said, I'm going to make sure I say that. Don't touch the retirement funds. But I want to make sure that they eat the best food, you know, because we could say basa's healthy. It's white meat, fish, whatever. But on occasion, I'd love to give them maybe, you know, mahi or salmon or something a little bit more high-end. And we did a couple of weeks ago. And then we did our cost analysis, and it kind of scared me a little bit, because it just kind of, you know, bring down our total annual budget. So when we ask for something, we can ask for so much more, and I know we can do so much. But at the end of the day, we do have federal grants, and they do have mandates. And these mandates require that we meet the certification of maintenance of effort. And this is something that I really want to make sure that I emphasize. And you know, it fell on deaf ears, and I'm so thankful that we get the chance to come up here and talk to you guys, because you know, we're like at the House, and then bye-bye. Let's just hope and pray that the Senate will, you know, hear our side somehow. But having us here is awesome. To me, it allows us to be able to let you guys know, you know, the challenges that we're going through. So our population, our client population, as you can see, we have increased. The numbers that we place down here are what we call unduplicated counts. So if there's a client that goes in there, even if they consume one meal, we count them. That's basically the head count that we report up to the federal grantor. And a total of 104 meals for homebound and 41,000 was served just this past year. And now that number increased by almost 20 to 30%. So we hope that we get our financial assistance in that regards, not just to get better food, but to make sure that we safeguard this program. The nutrition program is basically the bulk of our services. And if you guys can follow me and see what I see, what my staff see, when we go out there and we visit the homes of our seniors, they depend on these food. A lot of them tell me that they don't even eat their lunch, the whole thing. They save a little bit because they want to make sure that they have something to eat that night. So they're talking to us about portion size, and that's the reason why they want more portion, is because they're going to be able to save some. Unfortunately, we can't give them more than what the dietitian recommends in terms of, because it's a 1/3 meal a day. It's not designed to feed you twice in that day, but they make sacrifices to make ends meet. Some of them are too frail and sick to be able to get up and clean for themselves. And we've spent countless of hours reaching out to family members, relatives, to be able to step in. And if they can't, my staff steps in. And we do what we can to be able to help out. And that's the reason why our budget is that high. And in reality, I feel like I don't have to come here and ask for the money. I feel like you guys are going to be knocking on my doors asking me what you need. And I know a lot of you guys did. And I appreciate you guys for that. Unfortunately, it doesn't really reflect the end result. So hopefully this year is going to be something different. Okay? And I'm open to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you, Director Manglonia. Can we just go back to that funding source? You stated earlier that you apply for all your grants.
Yes.
But in terms of indirect costs, does that go into the general fund, or is that
right?
Are you able to keep a portion of that?
Other than 3 or 4 federal grants, everything else, we do what do you call this? Have indirect costs in there. So that indirect cost varies, depending on how much we spend. So the more we spend, the more indirect cost is going to be extracted. And the reason why our indirect costs went down a little bit is we've been practicing caution spending. But we're looking at approximately $100,000.
And you've been able to access the 100,000?
No, we are not, and we're here to see if that's a possibility. I know that DCCA cumulatively we contribute over $1 million plus in indirect costs, and that money is not diverted back to the programs. It's not.
Okay.
Vice Chair, can I add on to that? So when we appeared in front of the House, there was a discussion on trying to figure out whether a provision or the language on the budget bill will include something to the effect that a certain portion of this indirect cost is going to come back to our agencies to be able to assist with these program needs. I'm not sure if that's still, or if that is noted in there, but we're here to kind of ask to follow through with that, only because that may be another option. And the 1.3 million is a lot that's being taken away from families, if you really think about it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And that's something that we'll have to look into, because the indirect cost that is being reported, maybe you've also seen what the projections are in the budget submission, does not reflect close to what your department alone is claiming to have put into in terms of indirect costs. So that's something that we would need further clarification on, but that's definitely something that the committee can consider in the budget deliberation in terms of DCCA being able to access some of the indirect costs. For the food, the home meal program, currently, how is, in the current fiscal year, how is that funded? Because I know, I don't think there's any local funds that were offered to the the aging program. So how are you currently funding that program?
100% federal. I do want to share something with you guys, and I think this is something that is very important that you guys are aware of. The CNMI is the only office on aging in the entire world that is allowed up to 5 years period to spend down. So what we do is anything that we don't spend down in previous years, we can reprogram that for all others so that we don't touch the food money. So we've been using that kind of like our safety net, because that's going to address potential increase in clients, or in our case, the rising cost of food, right? That huge inflation, right? It just kind of like shocked everybody. Like, oh gosh. So we've been using FY 21, 22, 23 funds to take care of operational funding so that we don't touch the food money. But because we haven't received any local funding assistance, zero all others in the past 3 years, we've depleted FY 21, depleting FY 22. We're already almost there in FY 23. We're losing our safety net. So now we're all on anxiety now, like, what's going to happen next year, especially with the rising food costs, right? We used to pay like $1.50 at the time we were serving breakfast because food was cheap, so we could afford breakfast and lunch. But even at $3.75, I'm only speaking about Saipan, right? We do buy food from Tinian, and we do buy in Rhoda, especially during rough water months, because we're unable to buy the food here and ship it down there. But when we do that, we just start, draining our funds down. Like, like a case of chicken is how much in Rhoda?
Don't even.
We just eat chicken on Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's to us, it sounds funny, but it's not. People definitely are struggling, and we want to make sure our clients are taking photos of their meals, sending it to me, and I'm like, man, we got to do better. We got to do better.
Have you assessed what it would cost to outsource the meals?
We did. We actually, in Rhoda, we put it out. We bid it out. No takers. There's a lot of requirements in order for you to be able to participate in that regards. And we tried in Tinian. I believe it was Triple J at one point. They were able to serve. But when you're serving, like you outsource it, like what we do here in Saipan, businesses have to have a large capital because the government doesn't pay you right away, right? So we had that experience in Tinian where we bid it out, right? We got a winner. This company served for a month, and then they stopped serving. I don't know if you guys heard. I'm pretty sure, Senator Cruz, you've heard that the Manamkut weren't fed that one day. Yeah, so we had to jump ship, literally, and bring food and immediately cook because we wanted to make sure that they're fed. And the reason why they weren't able to do that, because they thought that once they submit their invoice, they're gonna get paid within the next week or so. But that's never the case with how the government pays. There are
Even
times,
if you've put out a bid, but you didn't get anyone to submit their proposal, have you reached out to, for example, in Rhoda, there's only really one vendor that services the school, and so and I'm sure they're also, they also have a business here in Saipan. So is that something that they can also provide? Because the more they buy in bulk, the cheaper it is they can get these food out to.
Okay. For the sake of transparency, I want to make sure that we do not personally go out and meet with businesses. I feel like it's probably more, I would say honest.
But if there's no bidder, isn't there an exception for sole sourcing?
When you put it out and only one person bids, then for sure that person gets the contract.
No, but in terms of no one bidding, you can go out and select. Is that not how it works in any agency? If there's no bidders, then you can sole source?
Yeah, but I'm just kind of worried about my staff who cooks
Yeah.
and people who.
Because I
like-
see your requests, majority of your requests, at least for the Saipan, I'm assuming the Saipan Center is
Yeah.
for cooks.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, sorry, Senator.
Yeah.
We can definitely check with procurement with
okay.
what the legality
Yeah.
falls. But I'm all for saving, but we do have cooks in place, and we want to make sure that those guys still
Right.
operate. I mean, like the number of meals that they prepare in Rota compared to here, I feel like it's probably advantageous for them to be able to just cook in-house,
Yeah.
same as Tinian.
And so the 300,000 that you've requested for the meals, this would be more so on being able to elevate the type of meals you provide, or because you already have the set funding for meals, and so the 300,000 would just be to add on. for
the
most
set.
part?
Oh, sorry.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, the set funding for meals is short. So this 300,000 will help supplement our existing nutritional program.
Okay.
So once we are able to know that we can afford it, then we can start exploring for better ingredients.
Okay.
But we want to make sure first that we can afford our current, nutritional
Okay.
program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, just one last question before I
Sure.
recognize the members. Additionally, your requests, I see, is for bus drivers, but then you also have a request for maintenance for your fleet. Have you been able to reach out to CODA for any assistance, whether it be additional transportation service or some funds to help for the maintenance of your fleet that services?
Well, some of our seniors, or at least I know one of our staff that do avail of their services, specifically those that require lifter or have a certain disability. Reaching out to CODA in terms of providing services will still require funding. So, we instead would rather, I have drivers, and one of the reasons why we take our pick up and drop off our seniors is because it's stated in our state plan, and we just want to make sure that we comply with what's in the state plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Floor is open for any of the members. Recognize the Vice President.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome DCCA and to your team. So we're on the Office on Aging, and I just wanted to get some clarification. So let's start with the indirect costs. If I'm hearing this correctly, the agency does not have access to these funds.
Correct.
And is there a reason why?
It's been set up like that for the past so many years since it was
So
passed
help me
into law.
understand, so that when you talk about the setups currently is that the IDC stays with
Yes,
clearinghouse?
so when we receive an award and
Uh-huh.
we establish our allotment advice,
Okay.
when it gets to that first base at OGM, it needs to already indicate, it needs to budget the 7.5% if
Mhm.
you're including utilities, and I believe 34 to higher percentage without utilities. So before that allotment is even approved, you need to make sure that whatever the total award calls for,
Mm-hmm.
it has that budget for the IDC there. So as you spend, it'll automatically remove.
Okay. So so then the IDC includes utilities?
So that has been the concern, is especially from coming from our grantors, is that we get assessed the IDCs and then we still budget utility funding to cover for our utility costs.
Okay. And is that the reason why then you haven't been receiving utility budget for the last few years, or am I?
No.
Okay.
So in the past, we actually do receive utility money
Budget in the budget.
in the budget.
Okay. Separate from the IDC.
Separate.
Got it.
IDCs with the federal
Got
and our local
But
share.
in the IDC, is it identified that it can be used for utility costs?
No, we have a
No.
separate
You have a separate budget.
separate account for utilities, specifically
it.
for utilities.
Okay, so then connecting that to your statement earlier where utilities hasn't been funded for the past few years, and it has greatly caused a concern now, or a risk to losing a grant, right? How much would you say you need for your utilities for the fiscal year?
Based on and this is based just turning everything off at the center.
Okay.
Right now, our music room's off, their rec room's off, the movie room, everything's off. It's just the dining room, the kitchen, just for half a day, and then the rest will be on the administrative side.
Okay.
So we actually broken down on utilities, and I actually have the actual expenditure here.
Okay.
In 2023, for Saipan alone, we
Mhm.
spent 56,566.80.
Okay.
In 2024, it went up due to the rate, right?
Mhm.
65,637.15.
Okay.
In 2025, we did super cost-cutting measure. We're just shutting everything off. And to date, we are at 42,604.56. I do want to note that we are currently paying for Tinian's utilities because they weren't allotted any assistance for utilities. And Rhoda right now, the Rhoda Mayor's Office is the one that's assisting paying the Rhoda Senior Center's utilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how much is at risk with regards to the grant if your utilities is not budgeted for the next fiscal year?
I want to specifically read this one to you. It's an email that I received from our APS grantor, which required a revision of our spend plan. And this is to keep in mind the supplement, not supplant provision that specifies the federal funds received may not be used to replace existing state, local, or agency funds with federal funds. So if you do not see any money in our budget, it is supplanting, right? So it's very difficult when they see our budget, our local budget, and they say
It's
zero
zero.
for operation.
Yes.
And it's not just utilities, it's utilities, meals,
Meals.
repairs to maintenance, fuel, etc. So with the assistance right now of our mayors, and I give them a lot of credit, the mayors of Tinian, Rhoda, and Saipan, their contributions, House members, and of course you guys. When you guys come down and host our senior down at the center, we count that as part of your state contributions.
Okay.
And we try to be very, creative in terms of how we identify funding support from the state. So any contributions that comes in, we identify which program it falls under. And the reason why we have not been penalized is due to the fact that the mayor of Rhoda has been paying the Rhoda Senior Center. However, the funding amount does not correlate with the entire funding that the federal is paying for, meaning Saipan and Tinian and Rhoda cumulatively has been spending over $50-some thousand, and the amount of money that Rhoda pays is still way below what they should be contributing to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation. And I would hate to jeopardize any
Yes.
grants that the program is currently receiving simply because we are zero funding. And so I think it is very critical and essential that we revisit the submission from your office to the governor's office and see how we at the legislature can help to ensure that we put some funding in there so that you don't lose
Yes.
the funds, right? The federal funds. And so it's not just utilities then, it's also operations that they
Yes.
need to see some numbers in there.
Absolutely.
How are we paying for the utilities right now? Since it's, so you said that the
Hun-
utilities has been,
Yeah, 100% federally funded.
so
federal
that's
fund.
where the supplanting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They cut me some slack this
Yes,
time.
and we don't want to
but
take any more
We
chances.
don't want to take any more chances.
Got it. Okay, so that's that. But how much in grants are we looking at jeopardizing here? Because I want to paint the picture out there on how
So-
important this is.
Okay, so it's not the grant, it's basically the program as a whole. So if we do not meet the required non-federal share that's
Mhm.
applicable, under the Older Americans Act, and we do not adhere to the mandate, what could happen is that the Administration for Community Living might put the program on hold
Got it.
and conduct an investigation, talk to the governor, you guys,
Okay.
and what's going to happen is they might take the money back and even require that the money that
Return it.
was already spent for the program be taken back, put us into a competitive role where
Mhm.
it's no longer a formula where we submit a state plan and get our funding
Yeah.
every year. So our program broken down is not specifically just for meals, but we cover very important areas like the elder abuse program, the preventive health programs, the National Family Caregiver Support Program, which cares for the elderly caregivers who take care of those who are homebound, the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which is facing a possible cut in program year 2026. We need to make sure that we try to meet all these federal requirements, because a lot of people think that we apply for the grants, we get the money, and we're done. No, that's where
requirement.
it starts. That's where the work begins. And that's the reason why I am here to really advocate and fight for our new FTEs, because I have staff that haven't taken a day off in like a few years. I haven't taken a day off in over 5 years or so. Sick or not, COVID or not, I work. Why? Because when I don't, like things slow down or stop, my staff, they work through so many things, and I applaud them for that. And we want to be able to maximize our capacity, especially in the area of meal deliveries. We deliver over 500 meals daily,
Mhm.
and we send out 5 fleets. So if somebody's absent, I'm having secretaries going out there delivering meals. I have people that are supposed to be doing discount cards going out there delivering meals. I've delivered meals. So those kind of things tell a big story. Like we want to make sure that we do have that capacity, because mental health is serious.
Yes.
We need R&Rs once in a while.
Yes.
So, and if they don't get that, they burned out.
Okay.
And that's when we're talking about the National Family Caregiver Support Program, that's why it's very important to be able to get this funding, so we can actually allocate funding for respite, which is very needed. A lot of our seniors are being neglected, abused, exploited due to the fact that they just can't deal with having to put up with a sick elderly. And if you guys have been a caregiver, you guys will fully understand. I've taken care of my mom when she was sick, and I applaud my dad so much for putting up, with that kind of, I don't want to eat this. Sorry, Mom. But, she's very picky. But you get picky when you get older. Our manamko from Tinian, I was just there 2 days ago. They sat me down and they asked me, how come we cannot stay here until 2 o'clock? I don't want to tell them, we're trying to save on, like power. But that's the reality. We're trying to make sure that we stretch our money.
Yeah.
And if you guys give us utility money, they're open. We will keep them open. Tinian, Rhoda, the Manamko want to stay there because that's their love language. Bingo. It gets a lot of heat, but trust me, bingo is so awesome for our seniors. There is so many stories on that. The cognitive activities, the hand-eye coordination.
Yes.
It helps stroke patients recover faster. There's so many awesome things that goes on with bingo. So don't hate on bingo. But we do other activities too. We're trying to explore into health, nutrition. We have our dietitian go down there and do presentations every once in a while. And those are the things that we want to expand down to Tina and Rhoda. And hopefully once we get our vessel in place, we're going to continue to do that as well. And
Okay.
thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing all of that information with the members and the community who are listening
Thank
in,
you.
because I think it's important that they know that your team goes above and beyond
Yes.
what is required of them, right? But
Yeah.
just to ensure that the services are continued, and just a lot of love for our Manomku. So thank you for all the things that you guys do. You talked about requesting for additional FTEs. How many FTEs are you asking for?
8.
8 on top
Yeah.
on top of the 5
Yes.
that you have. Okay.
You can
And-
cut my salary. And give them.
Okay. And what is the cost associated with that? Those 8 FTEs.
Yeah. It's only 387,818.
And what would those 8 FTEs be?
Myself, my accountant, administrative officer for Saipan, an administrative officer for Rhoda. Tinian right now, the mayor's office, DCCA is taking care of that. We need, the current bus drivers. We want to get additional bus driver for Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. I just want to note that Tinian, for the past decade, they ran the program with MOUs from the mayor. They don't have a bus driver there,
Okay.
which is so unusual. Community development tech and a community development specialist. These guys are civil service employees that are currently funded under federal grants that expired. Yeah, they eliminated the program. Unfortunately, President Trump phased out that program, so we don't have that program anymore, effective the end of this month. So we have to make sure that we cover their FTEs. One of them, Assist Me, is the sole individual at around 68 years old, assisting me in going out there and doing house-to-house assessment. So she's basically my only caseworker for the elder abuse program. And we're asking for 1 cook in Tinian and 1 cook in Rhoda.
Okay. Thank you. And then you, under your food program request, you are requesting an additional 300K is what
Yes.
I'm hearing. And that doesn't even include the milk.
If we do the milk, it's going to cost us almost $200,000, not
So
including the milk.
200, an additional $200,000 to
A
add
year
the milk.
to add the milk. Yeah.
Okay.
I've checked the cheapest stores. They're pricey.
Okay. You're also requesting for 2 vehicles.
Yes.
What will the vehicles be used for, and what type of vehicles?
So we want to be able to. Recently, we went on a, and I invite you guys too. They went on a ride along. Congresswoman Kimberly King Hines. We invited her to come along on a ride along, and she was able to see the routes that we take, and we're taking like sedans on roads that require maybe a 4-wheel drive or something a little bit higher.
Okay.
And we do have those vehicles, but unfortunately there's still certain areas in that village that still require like a all-wheel drive. Yeah.
Okay.
We want to make sure that our delivery personnel are also safe. So
Sure.
we're planning to get 2 maybe like mini SUV.
Okay.
Nothing too, not a Bugatti or something like that. It's,
So we're looking at approximately what?
so we're looking for around 60,000. We're looking
60,000
at around
each?
30,000. Yeah,
Oh,
per
so
vehicle.
60,000 for
Yeah.
the 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is specifically just for Saipan right now, because a couple of our vehicles got into an accident, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of it is total, the other one it's compromised, and we're taking risk. I don't want to
Okay.
take risk.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can I just thank Childcare and DYS?
Yeah.
They assist us by donating some of their unused vehicles to help us with our program.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it wasn't for them, yeah, we would have been doing like multiple trips. And we actually met with ED. Gosh, what's that acronym? What's the new name of that health department? EDBH now? Environmental. Yeah. Okay. So they encouraged us to make sure that we deliver the meals within the 2-hour time frame. So we're sending out 9. We used to send out 7 fleets. Now we're sending out 9. But for safety reasons, I don't want my staff to drive fast, and
Right.
But we still have to meet that 2-hour time frame. So getting these additional vehicles will definitely
Okay.
make sure that happens.
All right.
Thank you.
And then for your maintenance, these would be your repairs and maintenance for your fleet. How much are you asking?
For repairs and maintenance, it's mainly for vehicles, just the
Uh-huh.
upkeep, maintenance, making sure that we take care of that. We want to tackle the restroom projects, especially the one in Tinian and Rhoda.
Okay.
Rhoda, Saipan, we're okay right now. CIP took care of that. But we want to take care of our air conditioners. We have tons of those. It's a big building.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so then going back to the IDC, you'd mentioned that in the House, during the House budget hearing, that they would include a language provision ensuring that the IDCs go back to the entity where the grants are worked out of, right? But I feel like that's a temporary solution. So we need to start thinking more long-term, and is it regulation that dictates the process right now? Is that why it stays with OGM? I'm trying to understand.
I'm not sure what
No, I think this is the law
public
that
law,
created,
yes.
OGM.
but yeah,
So
It is
we
a
need to
public
take a
law.
look at the law itself then, and
correct.
probably need to do some amendments to ensure that all the other government agencies who are receiving federal funds get to see those IDCs that's due to them, right? Okay, so I'll make a note of that and we'll visit that. Okay, has there been any, dialogue between the agencies and OGM to see if that, they could assist with at least giving you guys a percentage of the IDC?
So I was gonna add, after what was done speaking, that I did learn recently that there was money being put into utilities, but those are just for the penalties.
Okay,
Because our federal grants cannot cover the penalties.
sure.
But have we met? I think this has been a topic of discussion for the past over 5. It's been a while. We kind of present it every year. But for the first time in the House this year, we were told that it was going to be considered, and possibly somewhere in the language,
Okay. We'll
it's
de-
going to be set up so
Okay.
a portion of that can come back to our operations.
Okay, we'll definitely consider that during the budget deliberation, but I would like to look at a more long-term solution so that
Yes.
the agencies don't continue to experience this, right? And so we'll take a look
Yes.
at that.
And also, if you guys are not already aware, there are, and maybe I won't say who, but there are agencies that are exempted. So maybe that's something that you guys can take a look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the information. That's all I have, Vice Chair. I yield.
Thank you. Recognize Senator Calvo.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And thank you for explicit Q&A and dialogue, because, a lot has been shared and very thorough. I just want to go ahead and commend the director and, the 3 islands working together in regards to the successes. You blended in. You shared the real top 3 challenges, the financial maintenance and how Saipan has a CIP, Rhoda and Tinian, just to get them up to par, the ADA compliant, the 2 vehicles. We're looking at that 300K additional, to ensure we're not underfunded, we're safeguarded, and that's very important. And, just looking at the media and the advertisements, and I think I was running through the channel a while back, and the interaction with international students coming in, acting with our kids. I mean, those are wonderful sub-programs, that keep our Manamko alive and lively. I have a personal note, a caretaker where, I personally have someone that is challenged right now, my mother, that needs health care, and so it ties closely to, we must not neglect, although we are financially challenged, how do we become creative? How do we ensure that, like, our Vice President Magofcha mentioned, be resourceful and ensure these grants are not stripped away. So commend you all, the department and the 2 divisions so far that I explained. Appreciate it, and we'll, look forward to assisting as best as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Calvo. Recognize Senator Castro.
Hi, directors and administrators. Thank you for being here. One of the questions I wanted to find out is, you know, how we have DYS for the youth. Maybe we can work together for a law enforcement unit for the Manomco for elderly abuse and those things, and possibly earmark the citations to the Office of Aging. And I know you're really good in crafting language, so I look forward to working with you on that concept. The second item, since you mentioned you need to increase your fleet of delivery vehicles, I do recommend looking into mini Jeeps or key vans, you know, like since the law now enables us to purchase those small vehicles. In Precinct 2, we had 2 of those. And our gas bill every week was about $30 every 2 weeks. And this vehicle was going around the island delivering picnic tables. And it helped us really save costs for 2 years. So, you know, it was about $4,000 for that vehicle. So I imagine you can buy more than 9 if needed. And the size of the vehicle, you can go into all those small secondary roads that are unpaved. And so just some ideas to save costs and increase outcome. Another thing is we just found out there's over 50 million from Division of Energy that's waiting to be spent. And with your expertise in terms of grants, maybe you can help them dedicate some of that fund to power up the Manomco centers, maybe some solar ACs. And then CODA, you know, CODA's been operational for a while now. When I was living in Oregon, most of the Manomco's transportation-wise was handled by TriMet. They had smaller buses for the Manomco, and it goes right up to your house. Maybe we can also tap into that somehow to fund your vehicles, but if you haven't done so already. That's about all I got. I just want to thank you for your great work and helping us save costs and improve outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and good afternoon, Secretary and Director Muglonia, and team of the aging program and the DCCA. I appreciate all the services you guys are rendering to the youth, the Manomco, and everyone here in the Commonwealth. Talking about food, I know that I see in my record that you don't have any cook for Saipan. So you're catering the food from somewhere?
Yes, for Saipan, we put out a bid for catering. Yeah,
I think you
catering
mentioned that earlier. And I was wondering because I don't see, and I think it's just a suggestion.
Sure.
I didn't see any nutritionists on your list, and I think nutrition is very important because you're receiving grant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that funding is from the federal side, and I think it's important because I was cornered back then with Manomco, and I said I'm also a Manomco though. So you know, I understand that I am elected to represent, but I said because sometimes they said the food is not good, but I you know, kind of like tell them that, you know, it cannot be as luxury as what we have in the restaurant, no? Because I think we have to be very careful, because if it's not all, but mostly of the Manomco are hypertension, right? So we have to be very careful with you know, the way they make the food, and that's why I mentioned that I think it's important that we should have a nutritionist to make sure that we're not violating anything that is against, you know, federal you know, federal money. Because although we want to satisfy the Manomco, no, the most luxury taste of food, right? But we have to be very careful because you know, they're under I think most of them are under medication, and we continue to, you know, to give them the food that they're not supposed to be eating, I think we're gonna in maybe in the long run we're gonna be in trouble because receiving grant. So I just thought that I think nutrition is very important to make sure the cook are guided by the nutritionist how to make those kind of food. Although I know that Madam Cook gonna complain about the food, but I think health is more important than what we put in our system. No? So I just thought I mentioned that one, and I appreciate all the effort and commitment that you guys are doing to keep Madam Cook. I understand that I don't know how long more that they have with their time to live in this island. Also, we try our very best to provide the best quality services to them, and I understand that they wanna stay longer, and I think it's important that that they should be afforded with that. I see that you're not giving for utility, and that one is very critical. So I know Senator Post also Manamku is going to support the utility and other needs of the Manamku. So again, thank you. I appreciate it.
Vice Chair, may I? Okay. Senator, we do have a registered dietitian on board. Her name is Miss Tina Goodwin. She's assisted for a long time with the nutrition compliance with the PSS and worked with the Manamco almost a decade. So no food menu can go through without her signature. We also have a dedicated team that consistently work hand in hand with our caterers to address any concerns. So we have a specific guideline on what to follow. Our dietitian is very strict on that. There are times when meals could be prepared better, and when our seniors bring that concern up to our attention, we do discuss it with our dietitian, and we meet with our nutritional provider to make sure that they don't repeat those things. So we welcome complaints. We welcome people to bring up concerns, because there's no perfect system. And I'm going to give you guys a very quick example between preference and being able to meet our nutritional guidelines. Recently, we had discussions in increasing the amount of fish that we serve our elders, because fish is healthier, right? And chicken. And when I was in Tinian, not this trip, but the previous trip, one of the Manamco said, Director, titsagu ka man gupo. Sa manok ka, kimanok, so I'm like so I'm challenging our cooks. Can you guys be creative and maybe chicken curry today? And hey, Manamco, they're very sensitive. But we do share our menu with the islands of Tinian and Rota. And I've seen the meals, because I require that they submit a report to me every month. I see their menu, and there are times when things are questionable. As a matter of fact, somebody complained because they didn't want to eat spaghetti. Sa tizanya na Americano. Leko sa na Americano. So we kind of just play around with each other. But at the end of the day, we take notes. But we did a survey, and this is very important. We did a satisfactory survey not too long ago, and we used to do it annually, but we're trying to maybe do it even every 6 months, or every time we introduce a new menu. But at the end of the day, there's always pros and cons in everything that we serve. It's very difficult to satisfy. If you guys, I don't know if you guys seen that movie, The Sound of Music, how do you solve a problem like Maria? It's similar to how do you please the Manamco. It's very difficult, but we try our best. Yeah.
Director, just been there, and you're gonna overcome those. And anyway, in regards to the Title V program, do we still have that in both all senator?
Yes. That's one of the programs that kind of gives me anxiety, because President Trump phased it out, and then we had discussions, and then they brought it back in, and then we recently got word that it's not going to be budgeted in the upcoming program year, not this program year, but the next program year. But then now the Senate brought it back with conditions that they're going to be receiving cuts. So the Title V program is still in place. We currently have 19 participants here in Saipan, or 19 FTEs here in Saipan. 17's currently filled. 2 will be filled once the grant comes in. We have 6 in Tinian and 6 in Rhoda. So, Senator, when you were a House member, you did mention, I believe Title III program that helps seniors develop job skills to be able to kind of go out there and find work. So the Title V program is basically very similar to that. The only difference is that we assist them in acquiring, job skills. It's basically like WIA for seniors, right? And I think everybody knows the challenges that our economy is facing right now. Hotels are closing down. Jobs are becoming more competitive. So for the record, I've hired more than 6 to 7 Title V as full-time employees here. And I believe in Tinian, we're going to be hiring somebody on, that were former Title V. It's just a passage to a full-time employment. And yes, Senator, to answer that shortly, that program still exists. I try to make sure that it continues to.
Thank you, because
Thank
talking about drivers, the Title V used to be drivers in Tinian, and I want to commend our former administrator from
Yes,
Tinian,
Evelyn.
Evelyn, for
Yeah.
doing a great job while she was handling the aging program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Recognize Senator Paul Malone.
In kwenta di amin ay manamko director no para August and todo samzo si jus monse na si bishun mizo siya jan yan musun mizo para ta serbi manang kota siya no senagadi siya no uno gini na mampuzo ana twisty jan ana concern iji gaon sokuna 2 meses a 3 meses no tauza lechi luta na sa o sentina no manapara i lechi lo unsangan. Somebody mentioned here that it's been a year. I think it was you that 3 years. So that's very alarming, because 3 years ago we had money in the general fund. So why is it that for 3 years we stopped the distribution or inclusion of milk in their meals?
Because 3 years ago, we didn't get any money from the local government.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of alarmed, because that should be a really a major concern, like the milk. And also I understand water, they stop water also, the bottled water
No, it's still being
being
distributed.
distributed, the
Yes.
bottled water.
Mhm.
So only the milk.
Yes, just the milk.
Okay, so if I understand it correctly, 200,000 will bring back the milk to the Manamco.
Approximately, but if we have more clients enrolling, that number is going to keep growing up.
Okay, so is that something that the nutritionists highly recommend for Manamco? You would think, right, that that should be a very basic and major part of the meal program, that we provide milk, right?
Yes, very subjective. Every senior has a different health condition, and you guys know that a large portion of our population suffer from diabetes, and those that undergo renal care, it's actually not advisable for them to be drinking that because of the phosphorus.
Well, for the rest of the
in general, yeah.
Manamco.
So it varies. According to our dietitian, they kind of see milk more as food than actual beverage. So if you're going to compare water versus milk, the dietitian will always go water over milk. So it works in our favor because, it's healthier for our seniors. Hydration is very important. But at least on occasion, it would be nice to be able to give them that, because milk does have nutritional value that could be beneficial for our elders.
To at least mix it up, right? And
Absolutely, yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
So the 200,000 is actually for that process to
Yeah.
mix it up, and
That's our cost
it's
analysis.
not for the
yeah.
daily. It's not for the daily distribution, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's been 3 years
Mm-hmm.
that you don't include it in the meals, right?
We did not include it in the meals.
And then I heard earlier that most of the Manamcos would love to stay longer, right? Up to 4:30, and right now they're being told to go home after lunch, right?
Yes.
And that's only because of the power. Also, so yeah, have you guys worked with Office of Grant Management so that they install solar in all the facilities?
I've actually worked with them. I completed a grant with grants management,
Okay.
and we were supposed to get a 200 kilowatt solar. Rhoda got theirs. I was working for Tinians and Saipans, and there's a change in administration. You know, Donald Trump came in and just kind of like phased everything out. So it's kind of like bad luck for us. So we're still exploring other.
Oh, so this is with OGM is telling you this?
No, we were told basically by a grantor that a lot of our energy grant programs have been.
But CUC
seized.
will allow you to have your own solar and get out of the grid?
Oh, like 100% out of the.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Or to have your own solar, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
necessarily to go on net metering.
Yeah, we can.
You can do
Yeah.
it, right? So that
Yes.
you can
Save
in the
on
daytime
costs.
just double switch, right, and
Sure.
use it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that the program is no longer there.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell them they're lying. Okay. Anyway, but you know that expense, I think we can incorporate on your CIP repairs. I wanted to ask, what's the situation? Because I was reading here that the sewage order still exists at the Rhoda Central Manamco.
So yeah, that's an ongoing issue. We've done a lot of work. We've partnered up with what is it, like DLNR, Public Works. Sorry, we dug up the whole septic system. We checked out what's going on. But we work with the mayor's office. We got somebody down there to take a look at it, an engineer. He was able to submit a proposal, and the mayor is willing to help us with the costs to be able to fix that issue.
Oh yeah, because 1 year ago we discussed that and we thought that that's already to be addressed, right? So you're saying that up to now it's not really fully addressed, and
Yeah.
so I guess my recommendation is to find out the necessary funding to
Mhm.
fully address
Sure.
that, as well as the solar project, as well as major appliances, air conditioning, and other electrical repairs.
Sure.
And if you can get a lump sum amount,
Mhm.
so, and I'm saying this for Rhoda as well as for Saipan and Tinian, because with CIP the 702 funding is flexible, but you cannot just repair one item at a time. We need to do it like lump sum, and so if it's gonna take 300,000, half a million, we can encourage CIP office to set aside funding so we can address all your needs. Because I hate to see items here that you're asking us from the general appropriation when we could easily address all of this. So I just want you to know that if you identify and put together all your needs for this maintenance, and we might as well just do a major repair, like for example that kitchen sewage order. Let's just do it good and do it one time, and we'll go to CIP, and you can go there and meet with them and update us, and we'll support you so that we can address all of this. We'll put in the solar and everything we need, and the air conditioning, and we'll address those issues. Okay, so we don't have to address that here in the general fund, but we'll help you address it with 702 funding. Okay, so we appreciate your updating us on those numbers. And I'm glad that on Tinian you mentioned that the mayor's office is helping you with bus drivers, right, and other FTEs. I think if you approach our mayor, he will.
And Rhoda also.
I'm sorry, and Rhoda
And
also.
Rhoda also.
Yeah,
They're
so you
helping.
would, because you mentioned here you need one bus driver, but I think you can get that tomorrow if you meet with the mayor.
Mayor.
There's here a requirement. You're mentioning here that that when the sole boss driver in Rhoda takes leave, the program is placed in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we just make an arrangement with the mayor's office. So
Are we talking about Rhoda?
yeah.
Oh, we have somebody in place to help.
Oh, but that's what is
Mhm.
here. I'm reading. From
Yeah, we're talking about programmatic because when you're depending on a separate source, the mayor can take that FTE and assign it somewhere else at any time. It's not something that I'm comfortable knowing that that's a permanent solution. Having our own employee will make sure that will always, you always have that safety net just in case.
Okay, but
Because we've experienced in the past, Senator, where we had an MOU in place, but then that MOU just got brought back to another division urgently because they needed them there. And then now we're stuck because we have to find somebody else to take care of that.
so they pretty much just have to assign, right?
Absolutely.
Full time. So
Yes.
maybe try that, and I'm sure that she can accommodate, like, for a driver and to help around the Manamku Center, no? All right, si Diyos sumasi again para judul mito todos. I have other questions, but as we move on, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul. At this time, thank you, Director Manglonia. If there's any questions for any of the divisions we've gone over, we'll hold off until the end, right before closing. So at this time, Secretary, can you go ahead and proceed with the next division?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. I was just going to ask if we can give opportunity to the rest. So I guess on your screen, you have the information on the Division of Youth Services. We did submit a proposal for 4 FTEs. So the funding source that you see on the screen is actually 1.5 federal funding source. Currently, I am working with about a 2.5 million pot. What you see on the screen is what DYS is going to have for next fiscal year. So a variance of $1 million, and that's because several of our grants are also sunsetting. What remains is our formula grant, which is the 1.5 million that you see there. Our personnel cost alone is about $1 million. Then you take into account our IDC, which leaves us with our operational availability of 300,000+. But the reason that I asked for the 4 FTEs is, one, we are in dire need of a grant writer. It's time that we explore more options. I really need somebody to focus and bring in additional funding source to support our programs and services. So we have of course, our administrative office. We have our child protective services. We have juvenile probation under our purview. We have our family and youth enhancement program, which is our very big prevention program, and we are operating a 24/7 shelter. We are overseeing the operations of the Kakamin Community Center, the Napak Youth Center, and soon to reopen the Sinapalo Youth Center. We need people. Our numbers are growing, and I'm going to stick to the numbers at CPS. So for FY 2024, about a total of 509 cases, we had a total of 1,429 primary and secondary victims. Okay, so these are the children, the number of children that we are working with, unduplicated. Okay, as we speak, we have exceeded 1,007, and the fiscal year is not even over yet. We only have 9 caseworkers in Saipan to handle that 1,700 children. So we ask that we are afforded that extra help. Our staff are burnt out. We want to make sure that, because safety is our top priority, we want to make sure that we have enough people to ensure safety. Okay, we don't want to just send out caseworkers to work on the surface. We want to make sure to do our job and to do our job right. So additional eyes and ears is what we need. Okay, so aside from the person that's going to help me bring in additional funding source to our division, so that we can expand and further support our services and meet our mandates. First of all, we need those additional FTEs. We're running the centers in the community. We talk about prevention. I only have 6 people handling the main prevention program for Saipan at least. In Tinian and Rhoda, we have 2 each for those 2 islands. So that's the whole reason why we asked for the 4 additional FTEs. We have nothing in the operations, as our federal funds are also covering the costs. Bear in mind, all our 24/7 operations and these big outlets in the community that our community members go to. We don't ever assess a fee for our services. Everything is free. So somebody's got to cover the costs, right? We pay for utilities, we pay for materials, and of course the staff that are running the programs in these community outlets. So if anything, on behalf of DYS, we're requesting for those 4 FTEs to be considered. And those 4 FTEs is basically giving me that 1 extra help to provide that support in terms of bringing in funding. 1 to go to CPS, 1 to go to juvenile probation, and 1 to assist with our community and youth centers. So that will be DYS's ask. And then at this time, we'll pass it over to NAB, and we'll go around with the rest of the divisions, and then we'll come back around for questionings.
Good afternoon. Sorry. So for the Nutrition Assistance Program, I am Margarita Audon, the administrator. We are fortunate that, I don't know if you guys heard, but when we went to the House, we submitted a budget in May for FY 2026 of $53 million. On July 10, we were informed to go back down to 34. Fortunately, with the continual discussion with our grantor, the USDA Food and Nutrition Service, they managed on July 23rd, they informed us that we are going to be able to get the full $53 million for FY 2026. So the NAP is 100% federally funded. I am here to advocate for the Sunbucks program, formerly called the Summer EBT program. So this program is now a permanent program. It affords 3 months of, it gives each student 5 years to 18 years, kindergarten to 12th grade, $177 for the summer, to give them to help them with the extra cost of purchasing nutritious food while they are out of school. Unfortunately, there is a 50% matching for admin that is required. I did submit a waiver. I haven't heard whether, it will be approved. I'm waiting for it. Hopefully I hear before September 30, the end of the fiscal year, or in of 2025, or early in October. So NAP is asking for the Sunbucks program, not for the regular nutrition assistance program, $160,000 to for that 50% matching requirement. This program provides assistance to 11,000 children, students, CNMI wide, and it has really been a positive, received positive from the community. And that's it.
Just to kindly add, if we don't have that matching, we're not able to proceed if the matching is required. For the past 2 years, we were issued the waiver, but for safety backup, to make sure that we administer the Sunbucks, that the $160,000 is secured.
Yeah, and now it's like I said, it's a permanent program. It was like February 2024 and 2025. It's just like an annual thing, but we're informed that it's a permanent program now.
So I know you submitted a budget request of 283, but if what the governor had proposed and what the House had approved, the
We'll take it.
163, then that'll cover.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, you're fine with the House version of your budget. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice and members of the Senate. My name is Gloriana Tuira, and I am the Executive Director for Arts Council. I am here to ask for one FTE for an art coordinator. I had requested for two. I'm thankful that we're given at least one. We went from 7 coordinators down to 3, having Tinan especially not having a coordinator for the past 5 years. So with the announcement of the grants that we had, our number of registered artists went from 122 to 427 registered artists. One coordinator in Saipan, no coordinator in Tinian, and we're fortunate to have 2 coordinators from from Rhoda, I'm sorry. And with all the community events that we're a part of, and all the grant applications that have been flowing in from our applicants, I also function as a coordinator every day. Unless I need to tap into the grants with our grantors, then that's when I put on my other hat. But that's my ask for today, 27,370 to accommodate an additional coordinator. So at least we'll have 1 in Saipan, 1 in Tinian, and the 2 that we presently have in Rhoda. Right now, Tinian is very not part of the program because of the lack of coordinator. So since our coordinator resigned like 5 years ago, the FTE was slashed. And then the 3 coordinators we had in Saipan post-pandemic, the 2 other FTEs were slashed. So I would like to request for at least 1 additional FTE to help us run our program. And I see that our coordinators are kind of like getting burnt out with all the artists that we have. And each coordinator is working with 9 art disciplines that we assist with. That's my ask for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the last of the divisions, or we have one more? Yes. Or 2 more.
Good afternoon. I'm Ramona Camacho. I am the admin officer for the Secretary of DCCA. I am also the interim federal program coordinator for historic preservation. And I'm also the acting executive director for the Language Commission office. To start with the Office of the Secretary, you mentioned the House version. If I can get the amount of what was moved to the Senate?
Sorry.
The House version for the Office of the Secretary?
Inclusive of the OPA fee, it's 308,497.
Okay, because I just wanted to make sure, because what we actually, with the governor's proposal of 308,497, that's gonna keep our FTEs afloat.
Correct.
But like Director Gloriana mentioned earlier that she needed an FTE. There's 8 of us that are funded under the Office of the Secretary, and unfortunately 4 out of the 8 were reassigned out to different divisions to assist because of short manpower. That really leaves me very critical in my office. I need a lot of help admin-wise. Luckily we have an HR, but I pretty much run the whole operation in the Secretary's office as well as the accounting. So if you assist these divisions that are asking for assistance in pertaining to FTEs, I'm able to recall at least 2 out of the 4 that are assigned out to come back to the office and assist me with, we serve 9 divisions. So I'm in full support with what they're asking for, because I really also need that help. Secretary is the State Historic Preservation Officer, which was designated by the late Governor Palacios. So a lot of the HPO funding is assisting the Secretary's office just because he holds that title of State Historic Preservation Officer. So a lot of the funding is helping us pay for our utility, other, because also he's a secretary, he's an expenditure authority. Some of the funds, not all, but some of the federal funds that the divisions receive assist us with our daily operational needs. So we cannot apply for federal funds because we don't run a program. We are the support office. But luckily, because of his being a SHPO, our grantor, our National Park Services grantor, allowed for HBO federal funds to assist with our operation. So in regards to, I'm moving on to the Language Commission office. I recently sent all the staff to attend a workshop pertaining to applying for ANA grants, because for so many years, this office was practically a little bit asleep. So from the time that I took on the actingship, I managed to find ways to also ask for the National Park Services, our chief grantor, to assist us a little bit in regards to language preservation. So we were allowed to procure items for language office, just so that there's a way to preserve their work in translations through the upgrades of their technology equipment. The other thing too with the language office, we secure little funding from the National Park Services to reprint a lot of their books for PSS, for the kids that are under the CCLHS program. And we also in the works of revisiting dictionaries both in Carolina and Chamorro to update them and reprint them and distribute them to PSS and other government agencies. So what do we have for the Language Commission office is zero. We don't get anything for the past couple years. So the staff's in there, they're doing with what they got with the assistance of the Secretary's office and the HBO office through their National Park Service grants. You look at director from the Aging Center about utilities. Yes, I'm advocating to help him, and that's what I said at the house, because he is housing our office, our language office. They're pretty much officeless. So the operational expense for language, actually, utilities, aging is carrying us, and I'm kind of worried about that because some grants you can't commingle. And that is the reason why I'm asking, instead of me asking for utility, because we don't have utility, I diverted that to support the aging office to give them a little bit more on the utilities and on behalf of housing the Language Commission office. I thank Director Manglonia, because if it wasn't for his open door and open arms, we wouldn't have a building to house this for staff under that program, under that division. So yes, I did put the translation on hold because we're working on a House Bill Act that Congressman Joel Camacho reached out to us in regards to fees. We've never charged for translation. We do translation for government, local and federal, but there was never a fee for that. So that's why we reached out to Congressman Joel Camacho to help us put that into that House Bill Act. And I know Vice Chair, you also reached out for comments on regards to some matters regarding certification program, and we will be discussing that in our upcoming, this is a big symposium. First big symposium that Language Commission is hosting, and that's going to happen in October. So we're bringing all the stakeholders to the table to clarify, ask each other questions, help each other to improve the language program on ways to assist the community. So I guess that's all I have. If you go around and come back to me and ask me anything about HBO or the Language Commission office.
Okay.
I think we have one more, and that's LIHEAP.
Okay.
Good afternoon, honorable senators. I would like to make it brief. With all due respect, with the governor's submission for the LIHEAP program, after the submission, I received notice from our grantor that LIHEAP is not included in the fiscal year 26 presidential budget. Therefore, I submitted a request after the House heard our budget request, an additional personnel of 54,000 to cover the program coordinator position. The program coordinator position is 100% covered by federal. Come 2026 October, if there's no funding from the federal level, then that position will be phased out. And also, the program is at stake. Therefore, I'm humbly asking, for the sake of the low-income household that we serve, to retain that governor's proposal level, if we can start from there.
Okay, so right now the current allocation under the governor's proposal,
160 for benefit.
right, is that a matching towards the grant that you currently have, or?
Not at all, but at least there's something to cushion, should federal side stop the funding.
And so this 160 will replace the grant that is going to end? Is
Yes.
that the understanding?
Mm-hmm. Normally, it will not replace it because the level from the federal side is 250.
Yeah, so for clarification, so currently for this fiscal year, she was given 100,000
For
utilities.
160.
160 through the local, but she also has appropriated from the federal side another 160, correct?
168, yes.
168. So, given that the office, the LIHEAP office, has shut down, and money is not included in the budget, I think that's the scenario we're looking at for next fiscal year. What is in the governor's proposal is the 160,000 that she did receive for this fiscal year as well. But what's in jeopardy is that additional 168,000 that's supposedly covered through the LIHEAP grant.
But in the current fiscal year, even so, there wasn't any local share, is that correct?
Current fiscal year, I did receive 160,000.
From the local share?
Initially, it was 80, and then there was a revised budget, and I was given a total of 160
For the current fiscal year from the local
current
government?
fiscal year. Correct. For
Okay.
the local.
Okay. So next fiscal year, benefits will cut in half, basically, right? Eliminating the federal side.
The benefit level definitely will cut because we want to accommodate.
What's the data on your clients based on the districts?
Okay. So total household of 274. The composition of those households is 286 children and 357 adults.
Do you have the district distribution by island?
So for Rhoda, I don't have much on Rhoda and Tinian. For Rhoda, I have about 18 households served, and for Tinian, there's about 4.
Is that because, how does that program work?
It's income eligibility, U.S. citizenship. Recently, in March of last year, we received the open for COFA, the freely associated states that can avail.
Why is Tinian's numbers low? Are people not aware of the program, or a lot of people don't qualify?
No, there's just not a lot of applicants. So as Rhoda. So Rhoda, we try to work directly with, we do have a staff on board that's funded by the governor's office. She's currently stationed at the DCCA office. So she does receive applications, processing. She does all the works and then send it up for approval. Tinian, we don't have anyone on board. We do direct services with Tinian.
Would a lot of the clients that qualify for food stamps would qualify for the LIHEAP program?
Not everyone, because the income of federal poverty guideline level that food stamp uses is a little bit lower than for LIHEAP we use 110%. I think food stamp is 100%. Right, Margaret? 100% federal poverty guideline.
Has there been outreach that there is a program that may qualify people who are just not applying? Because even on, Tinian, how many food stamp recipients are there in Tinian?
Sorry. So on Rhoda, we have an average of 655
Tinian.
members. Households is 273. So in those households, there's 655 members, participating members. And then on Tinian, we have 222 households, and there's 528 individuals.
Yeah. So even if the threshold is higher for LIHEAP, based on the numbers that NAP is providing, wouldn't you think that there'd be a much higher qualified group of clients for Rhode and Tinian?
Yes, Senator. There's more people that are qualified. It's just they don't come forward to apply for the program. But we do our outreach through the Aging Center, Division of Youth Services. And I'll be honest, I'm crippled. There's only 2 staff working under this program on Saipan, 1 in Rhoda.
Right.
We don't have any on Tinian, but we do the direct services through phone.
Okay. I guess I'll open up the floor first to any of the members. And at this time, I recognize Senator Castro.
Okay, since we're on the subject of saving costs but improving outcomes, and given that the data sets that all your offices require, I wanted to ask, is the division or the department looking into a unified application for these social services that are provided? Meaning, if I go to Medicaid, even though Medicaid is not under you guys, if I go to Medicaid, they ask for the same documents that food stamp asks for, same documents that child care asks for, and the amount of data entry would be less, the amount of personnel would be less if we had a unified application. But the bigger concern I have is we have all, given that gas is expensive, a lot of our people, may be out of a job, they don't have a car, and quota doesn't go deep into the villages. It's just, it would make sense to have, like, let's say you go and apply for food stamp and there's a box that you just check mark. Are you interested in using this application for Medicaid? Are you interested in using this application for child care? And if there's, any other if it like there's one document that's needed, then you would just submit that later or somehow. But I know most jurisdictions it's automatic. Like when you apply for a food stamp, that's on the question. Jurisdictions like meaning in the U.S. mainland, which is where we get our grants from. We've been doing the same process since our inception, and I know food stamp is moving towards the cards, which we need a ribbon cutting for that, or some kind of celebration, because it's also going to help us prevent fraud, which we have a lot of. The amount of tax evasion from food stamp sales that's going on, if we actually caught those, we can put $20 million back into our sources of revenue. But that's always our problem with every agency is enforcement. But just thinking about our people growing up, the food stamp office is right across my house, so it's been the same since I was in elementary. People lining up outside the tent, and I know it might change because of the card, but the beauty of the way our agencies are designed is it's under one department, DCCA. So in terms of data or personally identifiable information, protection of records, it's the same department. So it's the data sharing is allowed. But I really this is a simple fix. Like it can happen next month. Just modifying the application, like DCCA application. But it just needs a little training to our personnel. But I asked this question before. This was like a few years back. I asked one of the personnel, I'm not going to say which department, or actually it was one agency, and I was like, it was convenient to go through the driving, like drive-by food stamp, drive-through. But I asked that personnel from that agency, what if they don't have a car? Oh, they can just write taxi. So we're asking someone that has limited income, but we're kind of like putting this inconvenience on them to pay for a taxi. But most taxi, they would not waste their time in a lineup because they're losing money. Maybe there's other ways they walk in, but I really encourage the department to just have a unified application. This is the time. This time, like while we have lack of resources, it calls for those kind of measures to reduce costs and improve outcomes. I encourage you guys to sit in one of those lines and experience it. I know a lot of you guys see it, but not just one agency. Go through the whole process from all the agencies you guys are, and feel what the clients are feeling. And don't use your government car. Use your personal car. But it's just a reminder. I really appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. I've been there, maybe not in the same agency, but when I was working at NMC, the process was the same. But when I started as the director of admissions, I'm like, we are not doing this moving forward. We are not going to make our students do our job. It's not our students' job to be routing the papers. That's our job. So nowadays, you have online registration. Anything you request, you don't have to walk through and get a signature for every department. And so far, it helped me at a time when our budget was short. We used to have about 20 personnel, but it was reduced to 4. but changing our process, it made the 4 personnel, we eliminated the need for data entry clerks pretty much, because our process was all synergized. So it sounds hard, but really everybody's doing the same thing. Is just put it into one application, and then every time that they check mark it, forward it to that department electronically or something. But you guys all work for the same agency, so you can serve as a designated official for each other, just maybe a few hours of training. So that's one request I would like to ask the department on behalf of your clients. The other is, I was in one of the hearings for DYS for a juvenile delinquent, and in that hearing, I think over 70% of the juveniles in that hearing, it was all for driving without a license. So I'm really thinking about this driver's ed, bringing it back. Either we put it at PSS or we put it with DYS, and we earmark the funding to the department that is providing the training. Or every time you get cited for driving without a license, the citation money goes to the department. So in addition, in regards to Title III or Title V, and just correct me if I'm wrong, because I only know like Title IX and other education related titles. But you know, a lot of our Manomco, we should maximize their time with us, and some of them have skills. Our tourists, when they come in, they're looking for local food, local culture. So especially our Manomco that still know how to make, you know, the dishes that they're looking for. Somehow we can, when we have a night market, maybe the Manomco can train the Manhobin how to and get certified. You know, like this is real, like Auntie Terry's donuts with what is that? Some kind of non-disclosure agreement that they're not gonna steal the recipe, but just something to, you know, like way back when our economy was a little bit better and I was able to travel to Thailand, all the night markets were mostly locals, and a lot of them also were elderly, and you know, they were selling like Thai food, and so, you know, just some ideas to really provide like an experience for our tourists, but at the same time help our people be more entrepreneurial. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cluster. Any member? Recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Vice. Ms. Olupai, right? Oh. In regards to you mentioned that there's only one in Saipan and one in Tien under low-income employees, right? Yeah.
No, I don't have any direct staff from Tinian. We just go through the municipality, the mayor.
So it's not DCCA. You don't communicate with DCCA directly to the
DCCA office.
So
Bonnie.
who you, Bonnie? Because I was wondering, I know that you mentioned earlier that how many for Tinian? 320 household?
No, total served
For Tinian?
for fiscal year 25, there's only 4 households.
Four? Only 4? So, because I like to see, because I know there's a lot there that really needs help. Not only 4, so that's why it's very, I don't know, I know you've been asking for additional, but I think constant communication with DCC Athenian so that they can be, because it was mentioned earlier that I was inquiring whether is it the same or eligibility food stamp and that program?
No, it's not.
So what is the eligibility on those?
So for LIHEAP program, you need to be income eligible. You need to be U.S. citizen or COFA, and you need to be the head of household. Account holder for CUC. For food stamp, the children are the beneficiaries. The head of household can be non-citizen. For LIHEAP, you need to be U.S. citizen to be eligible
So
for
what
that.
is the income threshold on
110%, sir.
Huh?
110%.
What is the
For
the income bracket?
every fiscal year, it changes. So for fiscal year 2025, 16,000 for household of one.
What is
Let
the?
me get you the exact
talking
number.
about income, like salary. What is the eligibility for that to qualify?
So
So for NAP, Senator, I'm so sorry, I can just, off the top of my head, for a household of one, it has to be 1,600? 600 some a month to
If you're
qualify.
earning 600 a month,
1,600,
1,000 a month for
Yes.
a income,
yes,
then you're eligible.
yes,
So more than that, you're not eligible.
yes.
See, I know a lot there in Tinian that they're not making. What about like even retirees, right?
most retirees are eligible for LIHEAP.
Because I know some retirees are below $1,000. So that's why
Most
I'm
of
very
the
concerned that only 4. I
So
appreciate sharing that.
most of the eligible households are retirees, elderly, and people with disability.
Thank you. And Vice, and I'm gonna jump from this to another. If no one is going to raise question on this.
No, this is for the whole department
Okay,
now.
so can I go to historical side, please?
I'm right here. Any questions regarding financials I can answer, but we do have, I would recognize her, Director Murdy Canny for the Historic Preservation Office. We also have the historian with us.
I just want to ask a couple of questions, guidance on this side, because I see. Can you go back to that slide? The preservation of all those.
Sorry, Vice Chair, can we just kind of speak a little louder, so.
Senator Cruz, if you can just speak into the mic, please.
Huh?
Speak closer to the mic.
Sorry, sir. There. Can you go back to that historical site? Right there. Okay. I just want to ask, when was this registered as a historical? This is all Japanese remains, right? From after the World War. This is not the
Yes,
the
so
ancient Chamorro
We-
historical, right? This
Yeah,
all, right?
we have the pillbox in front of the museum. We have the Japanese police substation over at Isley
Yes.
Field Airport.
I just want to ask, when was Japanese included in as historical? Is it ever since, or
Yes, ever since.
ever since when they created a historical office? These are
So let me have the historian answer your question, because I can answer the financials
Okay,
part.
okay,
or she
okay.
can- we also have Ms. Murdy Canny. She can also answer questions on programs.
So are you referring to the Japanese substation?
Yes.
So that is part of the Isley Field National Register of Historic Places. I can't give you the exact date, but it is the whole like airport field and all of that.
Because I remember growing up, this was not included in as a historical, and I'm just leading to our ancient Chamorro historical, and I don't see. I'm just concerned about there's some areas in Tinian that are not been done the same way is done with this. No offense to Japanese, because we're trying to create peace, no. No offense to them, but I'm just trying not, because historical, and we're trying to preserve culture, language, and of our ancestors, and I'm just wondering why I don't see any of an ancient Chamorro site that been done the same way we're doing something like this.
Well, just this past year, there is the site on Rhoda, the Laddie site, that was recently officially nominated. They are there. They're just maybe not as seen, but we do log in and we do study our Laddie sites and our our ancient burials and all of that. Those are just as much as a priority as our American sites and our Japanese sites.
Yeah, because I was following some information coming from concerned citizen in regards to destroying our ancient Chamorro site and artifacts. So I was reading the law, and it has to be preserved and protected and make sure it's not damaged. And because I know that some Japanese group continue to come here. Ever since I was only maybe 12 years old, they've been collecting bones. So I'm wondering how many more bones they need to find, because I'm just wondering whether they're collecting bones, or all those bones are Japanese bone, or do we have any of our, because I know some of our ancestors are brought back, I think, from the mainland recently. And I just want to make sure that our ancient Chamorro sites, or before they even come to that point to collect bones, how do historical preservation do that?
So a company that does that through Japan is called Jarwick, and they go through a permitting process, and we do meet with them. We do discuss all kinds of mitigations and issues that may arise, and we are in constant contact with them on whichever island that they are in. And at the end of each dig that they go through, they do report to us, and they do share information.
So whenever the governor is the one authorized, though, right? Just the authorized to come in and
they do have to go through the governor's office,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do the qualified individual, like the archaeologists, always on site?
Yes. So
and you guys always on site to monitor whatever they're doing on site at all times? And who's qualified to be touching the ground?
So there is what's called a Secretary of Interior standard of archaeologists, and those are required to be present during any of those digs. So there's no digging without a qualified archaeologist.
So how deep is the digging?
It just depends. I'm not out in the field, but we do have team members out there who do monitor, and that SOI qualified archaeologist is hired by Jarwick, and they always present to us any information,
Can a group that are not archaeologists do the digging?
No.
Can we use jackhammer while dig?
A what?
Jackhammers?
No. It's hand digging.
So I just wanna clarify that, because there's some report, and by the way, Tinian staff are authorized to to receive complaint and investigate?
Yes, and so
Complaint?
is the SHPO. If there's any complaint or any issue, they can report to the Tinian HPO staff, or they can report to the secretary's
If
office.
somebody, for example, come to the Historical Preservation Office in Tinian Road and complain about suspicion of destroying artifacts, can they allowed to, is there any sort of qualification to be taken or be certified before you?
Before you dig, or before you?
Before they receive any information? Or Tinian and Roda are certified investigators?
They can receive the information and bring it up to our director, who then can bring it up to the secretary. If it's our director first, and then if it's not resolved, then we bring it up to the secretary.
So they're not certified to investigate the complaint.
Well, I think it depends on the type of complaint and the seriousness of it. If it's like a minor issue and can be resolved between the two parties, then by all means. But if it's something more serious, like taking of artifacts, that is against the law, and that should be brought to our director's attention.
Like, for example, you're staff of HPO, and I come to you and I complain that somebody's digging at the Chamorro site. Is that allowed to take that investigation and maybe perhaps go to the site and see whether or not it's true? It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just I'm just wondering earlier what I mentioned, because like I said, no offense to our good friend, the Japanese, because we're trying to to bring peace to the world. No? We don't want to create any animosity, but as I mentioned, since we're doing all this, I think we should do the same thing with our ancestor sites and start also cleaning up and improving the area, so that not only that to show our ancestors that we still remember them, and for the future of our generation to understand the culture and what happened, what transpired in that area. That's why it's important, because I know the American Memorial Federal staff, they're doing their own preserving preserving the historical side and our culture, our language, and I think everybody should be collaborating and doing the same thing too. Because even myself, I don't completely understand the history of our native Chamorro on island. But if we're forgetting of the ancient Chamorro and only preserving all these kinds, and we don't see any of our ancient Chamorro side that been preserved, then we're losing our culture and the history, that our new generation should understand what happened in that area, because some are Chamorro burial area, some established by the water, and if all those areas have been destroyed by the bone collectors, then we don't know. It has to be, we have to bring in archaeologists and all those different experts to understand whether that's a normal burial or somebody killed them or whatever. So that's why I think it's important if we're talking about historical preservation, because I keep telling myself, what is preservation? And if we're not preserving those, then it doesn't make sense having, no offense to the office, but doesn't make sense having historical preservation office if we're not protecting those, especially artifacts. And then there's a lot of ancient Chamorro drawings in some areas, and I'm pretty sure they have it here and even in Saipan, but that's why I think it's important for HPO to have a staff that can be going out and exploring the area and start protecting those, because those are very important for our new generation to understand our culture here. And not only that, we collaborate with, because I remember I mentioned this during MVA. They're not just gonna promote our blue water, like what Senator Manning mentioned. When we bring them here, Japanese or Korean, we bring them to a Japanese restaurant, a Korean restaurant. We're not promoting our culture. So that's why I mentioned about collaboration of different, with different agencies, especially with, with cleaning those up and maybe just like any other, areas that when visitors come, they pay fee to get in there. So I think we should start preserving and protecting those areas, and because maybe not everybody interested, but there's a lot that will come and be interested in seeing the lattice stones and the ancient cave and the drawings, and what is the meaning of those ancient writing there. So I appreciate and like I said, no offense to the office. I'm just trying my best to also, try to learn also what happened in that site, rather than, destroying the area. So again, thank you, and it's not that I'm not supporting, but I'm just, want to, to say something that will also, lead to the preservation. So again, Vice Chairman, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Sorry, members, before we go any further, we've been at it for about 2.5 hours. We'll take a 5-minute recess to allow for any breaks by any of the panelists. Thank you. Short recess. We now rise back into our committee hearing, and at this time, I would like to recognize Vice President Magofnia.
Suzus Masi, Vice Chair. So I'm just gonna start off real quick on HBO since Senator Cruz just raised some really good concerns, you know, and again, nothing against the office. I guess it's just raising the awareness and making sure that the office itself is ensuring that, you know, it's fulfilling its mandates. And so we definitely want to preserve whatever we can with regards to our Chamorro culture and whatever sites that need to be protected, we have to make sure, because it's not just for the you know, for the benefit or of our tourists that are visiting our islands. I think it is very, very important that our children and the future generation can have access to information that would help them understand who they are as a people and where they come from and what they're all about. And so, you know, that's a very essential component of who we are as a people. And also, in order to promote, you know, in order for MVA to promote the CNMI and let the world know to come here and experience the culture the beautiful cultures that we have, both Chamorros and Carolinian. You know, what better way than to ensure that we have sites for them to visit so that they can read about it, can understand more about our people and our culture. And this is why the importance of making sure that these historical sites are properly secured and protected and maintained. And so with that, I just wanted to ask, because I just had a conversation with someone a day or two ago, and this person was sharing with me that in Lalao Bay there's a Japanese bunker and an area there where there's actual latte stones, but it's heavily vegetated. And I wanted to know, especially with regards to our latte stones, like, is that something that the office is aware that those latte stones are in existence down on that side of the island? It is. And so if it is there a reason why it's not cleared or maintained, you know, and have proper signage or maybe some kind of fencing to ensure that, you know, it's, I mean, we just have to take care of it. If that's an historical site, then it needs to be maintained, right? The ground maintenance. So I don't know if that's still the case, because I myself haven't visited the site. But if that is true and it hasn't been maintained, I highly recommend to please ensure that we take care of whatever remaining sites that we have, so that our future generation can have the opportunity to also, you know, experience and understand who we are as a people. And so that's all I have for HBO. I would like to move on to NAP. It's a very important part of the discussion. And so I would start off with, you know, we hear so many different complaints or issues that are brought to our attention, but I think the key is to have a better understanding of how the program works and why certain people are not eligible. So I would start off by understanding what is the income threshold requirement for an applicant. I just visited the website, and I know you have a breakdown of what the thresholds are as far as a household of 1, 2, 3, and so forth, right? So there is a breakdown there. The question that I would like to ask is, are those income threshold based on research and analysis done on our island, or are those thresholds from a different jurisdiction?
So we follow Guam's.
Okay.
So that if there's any COLA or anything, we follow Guam's, threshold.
Is it? Do we follow Guam's because it's a federal requirement, or is it just because it's more comparable to
So-
our environment?
Maybe a little of both, because it is, like we get the letter and they say CNMI, American Samoa, whatever, to follow Guam's.
Sure.
And maybe it's
And then
because
I
it's
ask that because
comparable.
if there is room or flexibility to perhaps maybe review the income requirement and amend it. Yes, we are very close in proximity to Guam, but we are also very different when it comes to cost of living.
Of course.
Most especially Rhoda and Tinian. And so that is definitely a consideration that we need to look at, because just looking at income and salary disparity between the three islands, it's pretty huge, right? And so someone from Rhoda doing the same kind of work that someone is doing here, sometimes there's a $10,000 to $20,000 difference in salary gaps, and the cost of living in Rhoda versus Saipan is twice, if not 3 times more than what it costs for us here on Saipan. And so when you look at those variances and the disparity, how can you impose a requirement on the same applicants, right, on different islands, just in the same state, but the cost is so different, and I say this because when we do go on our trips to Rhoda, and I go into the grocery store just to get a few items, I see the big difference. And when I look at the salaries compared to the salaries here that we have on our island, I my heart just melts, because we cannot expect the same living conditions that we have here for as compared to the people on Rhoda and Tinian.
And that's correct. There is Rhoda and Tinian does get more than Saipan. So for example, for Rhoda and the Northern Islands, a household of one gets 524. And a household of one in Saipan gets 431.
Okay, so
yeah, NAP is very
Okay.
aware of that.
Okay.
However, with budget constraints, with funding from our grantor,
Yes.
we cannot go 100% more,
Sure.
like double that.
I
So
un-
yes, NAP is very
Okay,
aware, and
s-
it's been in existence since its inception, I believe.
Okay,
that-
but I'm talking more specifically on the requirement, right? So is the 1,600 per month, right, for a household of one
One
applicable
is-
to all 3 islands?
Yes.
Or so that's what I'm saying, right? So somebody on Rhoda who's making,
Less
I
than that.
I just see the disparity, and I
Correct.
really think that we need to review that. And if we can make the changes, if we could please consider that and
Thank you.
help
We will.
our brothers and sisters on the other
Of
2
course.
islands, because it's harder for them over there. And then so for FY26, do we have an estimated number of how much we are anticipating to receive as far as SNAP?
53 million.
So the 53 million, so that's what we are estimating to receive in NAP benefits, okay? And I'm just asking
Oh,
this,
I'm so sorry. So that's the total of funding that we will get. About 48 million of that, 49 million of that is just for benefits.
for benefits,
alone.
okay? And I'm just, I would like to hear it directly from NAP, so that when we start looking at the budget versus and talking to revenue and tax as to how much we should be anticipating to receive in BGR, because obviously there's been a lot, I think there's been a lot of underreporting, and so just from last legislature, I think we received information that there was over 20 millions in underreporting for BGR, and that's 20 millions that could have gone into our general fund that would help fund a lot of the department's needs, right? So that's definitely a conversation that we're going to have with finance and revenue and tax to ensure that if they need the additional resources, funding resources to beef up their enforcement, because that's where it's at. I know it's not NAP, it's the enforcement, right? Then that's where we need to direct our focus, and maybe that's where we need to allocate more of the funding. So because what's an additional 2 million to finance or revenue and tax for them to collect 20 million, right? So the investment is justified. So I just wanted to hear that directly from NAB, and thank you.
And I just want to also add on that we do work with tax and rep. For example, we provide them high redeemers, like
Okay.
stores that are, redeeming high. If what they're reporting on their BGRT is not matching, we do, report them
Sure.
to revenue and tax. So we really do try our
Yes,
best
so-
to help our
Yes,
CNMI
and
as a whole.
we appreciate all the support that you have been giving revenue and tax. I think the ball is on their court now, and I think they are just lacking the manpower necessary to be reconciling what we're bringing into the CNMI versus what they're really collecting, and this is why I'm saying, like, if they need additional help with FTEs, then I think it's well justified that we provide them with the resources that they need in order to get us the money that we can use. And so I know, and also there's been a lot of reporting of, and I don't know which agency then is responsible for this, but there's been a lot of information being shared with the members, and just talk in general that there's been a lot of abuse in the program, not necessarily from the office itself, but the recipients themselves who, I don't know if they're aware of what they can and cannot do when they receive the voucher, but I understand that sometimes circumstances forces them to, get into acts that they're not supposed to. But nevertheless, the law is the law, and that also puts the office at risk of losing the funding, right? When we are we're not using the money as intended. So I don't know who is supposed to be watching out for these things, where they are exchanging the food voucher to cash, basically, right? So they go in with $100 in voucher and they buy something, and then apparently, allegedly, there's a fee that the store keeps, and then they give them the cash. So that's definitely something that needs to be looked at closely, because we don't want to put the program at risk because we are not complying with the requirements. But aside from that, that's all I have, Chair. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Vice President. Any other member? Senator Calvo, recognized.
Vice Chair, thank you. Wow, a lot of information, guys. I'm going to make this quick. I just wanted to go ahead and thank you all in the different departments, because we touched up on, I like the portion where, yes, we mentioned the secretary. One of them said, personnel. One of the top issues in different departments, the secretary, and your office, and we don't get any federal funds and stuff. And then the notion of, that shared environment in the aging's office. I think it's coming to that extremity where the community needs are in high demand, versus the funding and the resources being depleted. The personnel that's grant writer personnel, we got the touch. I'm not sure which department, we're hoping to just reflect and look on the coordinator that's needing and representation to one of the departments. The secretary's office needing that assistance. We have, just the overall operating manpower, how we're having everybody collaborate. You did mention that you're working with the NAP, federal and interagencies, to support each other. So that's the creativity part of it all. I commend you all in your different departments for what we're doing for our people just to stay afloat. It's going to be a tough challenge in regards to the initial request, for across the board. I know I'm in the educational part. I know we talked about Division of Youth Services, and sports is one of my big finesse. Is there anybody in this youth that deals with the sporting, and how is those programs going? I know seeing my public school system usually works. This is regarding our municipality in Rhoda, regarding the sports coordinator. Do we have how's that program going? I know we just got the youth center, this regarding Rhoda, up to, part, and we're gonna work on the AGs for, the request stuff, but anything, who handles the sports and, youth programs?
So actually, the DCC used to have a sports and recreation component of the department, but we no longer have that. It was transferred to NMCL. However, on behalf of DYS, congratulations, we're opening the San Paulo Youth Center soon. But we do have our after-school programs, and that's one of our first item on the agenda. Once to get it open, we are going to open our after-school program there. We have brought this past year numerous tournaments, even to Rhoda and Tinian. Part of that 1 million that I was talking about that I have to spend this year is the Family Violence Prevention and Services Act money. So we actually recruited advocates. We provided stipend. They went out to all the other islands, including Saipan. We did basketball tournaments, softball tournaments, volleyball tournaments, all integrated with like a youth-to-youth conference, youth-to-parent, youth-to-adult conference. So it's there. Besides our direct services, we do highlight our youth sports activities, and also within the centers itself with our programs, not only with the youth, but with our parents.
And we do, thank you, and we do have, because we've had in the past the cultural aspects of it. So see, I wanted to end this note with, there's a lot of, amongst all the challenges, there's a lot of great happening in this division. And I commend all of you and our partnerships, and even if there's any policy, I know we brought up some great topics of discussion, policies, laws that we need to look forward to have in place, and in helping improve amongst the challenges we have. So I thank you so much, and thank you.
I think
Chair.
the
we have-
lady wants to be recognized, but in the back.
Okay.
Sorry, your mic. The mic's still on.
Mic check, mic check.
I'm the Historic Preservation Officer. Under Public Law 3-39, it requires that Historic Preservation Office is going to be headed by Historic Preservation Officer under Civil Service. I'm talking now in reference to Vice President's inquiry about Larry Stone. And for your information, I have only 3 staffs. 1 technician 2, 1 technician 1, and 1 trainee. And for 2025, we processed land use review and permitting 547 for fiscal year 24. For fiscal year 25, we had 403, where 331 I reviewed and I approved and send out. So the problem with my staff is we don't have enough staff to do land clearing and also to keep up the sites. The only time we can clear the sites is on the month of May, when we have the Historic Preservation Month, where we have to follow the US theme. That's when we identify which sites we can do tour of the sharing with the public, schools, and whoever wants to. So that's the problem. So what I need is I need 2 FTE for review and compliance. Because when there's project of 20, 10 hectares, I cannot just send 1 technician to do the survey. It has to be 2 in case something happened to that 1 person. So that's the challenges that I have. Our equipments are not up to par. And we're processing 7, 8, 10, even 15 local applications a day. And before the late governor, he called us, he said, the regular time frame to process the permit is 21 days, but he reduced it to 10. So here we're short-staffed, but we never went beyond 10 days. We always process it before the 10 days is up. Also, when there's a problem with the applicant, we call the EQ to put stop. But I always have the staff follow up with the applicant to feel what are the missing in part of HBO application so that we don't need to hold. Currently, I have no archaeologist. And that's the requirement of the program, is to have director, archaeologist, historian, and federal program coordinator, or grants manager. Those are the 4 staffing requirements to get this HPO regular grant. So please note that I've been asking for 2 positions, because when 1 sick, 2 sick, that holds the process. So there I am, the coordinator, have to go out and help to do the survey because we know how to do it. So to Senator from Tinian regarding the Chamorro recovery. Okay, is that Lazaro Cemetery? Or how do you call it in Tinian? Lazarina?
In Lazarino.
Lazarino.
And also up in Castillo.
Okay, that one, we already identified it as a Chamorro burial. So that it has to be stayed as it is, because in our policy there are 4 classes of the human remains.
And I think also, Ms. Kanem, sorry, but there is one also in Piña. And I didn't know, we were only invited to put back the bone after it's been removed. And I think that's in violation of the law, removing Chamorro bones from that cave.
So
that's why it's important that we have to always have people on site to make sure they don't disturb Chamorro site. No.
Do you know how they were removed?
I have no idea.
Okay,
we were called, and I didn't even. All of us elected as witness, putting it back in the cave. But what I'm trying to say, that must be recorded before even removed, because the position of those bones should be recorded.
Yes. So for information, before anything removes, whether human remains or artifacts, there's supposed to be a work plan or research design. And that has to be done with the archaeologist, who will be heading, so what historian mentioned, for the Jarwick group from representing Japan government. Before they come, they will submit their work plan to our office for review.
The thing, it was authorized from HPO here.
Yes, because they were meeting the requirements as to what are our conditions that they have to follow based on the law, policy, and regulations.
So that's why I'm saying we need to continue to preserve, because I have no offense to Japanese collectors.
Yes.
But if it's not a Japanese bone, it must not be removed from the ground,
Yes.
and it has to be recorded.
That's what we make sure that they will not be removed from CNMI.
It was removed, I think, more than, based on that archaeologists, more than a couple of, I think it's a, for me, when they say there's a child bone, a adult bone, I mean, it's maybe it's one whole family has been buried in that cave.
They cannot be removed without first being identified with the...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think your staff should be very careful in allowing these bone collectors to be collecting any bone they find in the jungle.
No, because it's required that they have to have archaeologists who will identify the remain, whether they're Japanese or they're...
Yeah.
Maybe we can look into it.
But
Maybe-
anyway,
So there.
we're gonna get to that on a different,
Yes.
but
So if
I don't wanna delay the process of this budget process. So we will get to that on a different.
So you can send it
Yes.
to our office.
Thank you.
whatever inquiries you want, and then we'll respond to. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize for the first round, Senator Paul. You have anything?
Thank you. Just on the budget matter, going back, this $6 million in emergency supplemental cannot be used to hire, for example, FTEs that HPO needs, for example? I'm just curious.
No, we cannot, because even with the national, our chief grantor actually, when we hired the admin officer funded under the 6 million, I was told to make sure that that admin officer is not utilized in a regular HPO operation. So it is we have a lot of special conditions on this 6 million. So to answer your question, unfortunately, we cannot.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm sure that you have professionals here, right, that goes over your 23 buildings and the 5 off-site, and
We have a project manager that is contracted to do that.
project managers.
Yes, he's an engineer.
And so, where are we? How far along as far as the progress payment for these projects?
Thank you for bringing that up, because I've been having a lot of issues with finance federal section, and luckily, this is for the drawdown. Luckily now, the one that I hired recently was trained by the federal section supervisor to transition the drawdown from finance to HPO admin officer. So now we're moving faster with sending out the drawdown, the request for approval to our MPS chief grantor, and to get that turnaround time. Now we're paying our contractors quicker than
Okay,
when.
So that's good, but how much of this is committed?
So for the renovation itself?
Well, for the whole projects that you have.
Okay, so out of the 6 million, we got 3.4 million committed to renovation. We got 1.4 million committed to salaries and fringe, but there's a list of
What is that?
salaries and fringe, but that's only for whoever is going to be working under the disaster project. So we cannot hire for the regular HPO operation. So, but the 1.4 million, I don't need to bring anybody else on board for this. I already have my project manager on board. I have my GIS personnel on board. I have my IT personnel on board and my admin officer. So
I'm just trying to
getting
look
there.
at the overall picture here, and so how much of this you can reprogram so you can, direct it to other sites? Is it flexible?
No, it's not. We are restricted to, if it's a 6 million for just a disaster project alone, it's committed for the disaster project.
Yeah, but that's my question. Can
We
you
cannot
find
take it out of
other
that.
disaster projects that are not identified?
Come again?
If there's a disaster project that was not identified and you now identify it, can you reprogram some and take care of those?
There is already a list, and it's in the grant agreement, on which sites we can work on for that funding. So, for example, the Capitol Hill complex, right? It was listed, the whole area, it was listed to renovate buildings that are being occupied, and also, let's say, the Japanese police substation is in the grant agreement. So if we don't have enough to get to any other buildings that's listed in that grant agreement, number one, it's either we kick out 2 or 3 buildings, or if we have enough left, number 2, we can add another historical building that was nominated. So if you want to find out what buildings are eligible, you can look at the search report that was done for the Capitol Hill complex, the Ashley Field. But yes, there are specific buildings that are listed in the grant agreement.
Okay, and so for example, like the other offices, they need offices. The Language Commission is worried. Can one of those buildings, they can move in? Or?
So I am the acting executive director for the language building. In our department, we have 3 divisions that are really homeless, officeless. So the Congress of Micronesia will solve that problem, because we can house our Arts Council, Historic Preservation, and Language Commission office, since they correlate with the same kind of similar mission. So that's the intention. We want to make sure that we renovate what is allowed to be renovated, that is being occupied, So we ease the obligation on the local end on paying rental for some offices that are paying rent. Yeah.
Okay, and we cannot ask for additional funding next year.
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Just to add, so the 6 million is what we almost lost about a year ago. So we are fortunate that we were granted the extension. This communication is made on a weekly basis with NPS, so it's really strictly monitored to ensure that we run these projects according to their requirements.
Well, because I'm sure it doesn't have to be buildings only. It could be laddie sites, like that was pointed out by the vice president. We can justify, right? So they can fix that up and clean it up and put a fence around and.
Yes, for example, like in Tinian, the Japanese shrine was included in that grant agreement. So when I know everybody looked at me when she said that we almost lost it. No, it wasn't on our hand at that time. We actually rescued it. When the administration came in, Secretary, what do you call that? The ultimatum there that was given to the CNMI by the grantor is either you change the project lead and assign someone else to lead it. So when the new administration came in, the governor delegated actually Secretary Rebalaban to lead. So when our federal grantor found out that the lead was changed, they said, okay, we'll give you guys 2 months to prove to us that you guys are going to move this money. Because they were about to take it away because it wasn't moving for 2 years, 21, 22. Until we took on late 23, we rescued this money. So,
Okay, so I'm just looking at the overall picture where we can save money for now. That those discussions can come in at another meetings, right? I just want to move along to ask the question: has NAP ever sat down with LIEP and go over the list and say these are the true poor people in the Commonwealth and let's see if we can help them and give them LIEP, because maybe some of them are not aware of the program and check who are the or the top of the list, right, of food stamp and meet together and say, let's just comparison, right? Check who's in the list that can avail of that and let's help those people. I mean, have you ever compared your lists?
I've never compared the list. However, we have a referral process between NAP and LIHEAP.
Referral process.
So we do the verification process as well. So the clients that come to my office, I make sure that if they're under NAP, and we work with their caseworkers in ensuring that verification of proper evidence are presented to the offices.
Because
So
there
yes,
just
we do.
appears to be a big difference in your numbers. The household is on Saipan, right? It's 274 for you, and there's maybe thousands for food stamp, and then in Rhoda you're saying 274, and there's only 18. So it seems like there's something there that doesn't match.
Yearly, LIHEAP only receive 250,000 federal funds.
But you can reduce it percentage-wise to reach out to everyone, or there's a minimum amount, or?
So right now we're serving 247 household, and in that 247, there's different household compositions. So that's how the numbers vary.
So if you have
Now,
300 tomorrow, it means you reach out to the whole 300, but everyone gets a little bit less? Is that how?
it will be less benefit. So the more household we serve, the benefit will kind of go down because we only work within the 250. So for NAP, and we don't have the same poverty guideline. So For LIHEAP, I use Hawaii's 110 poverty guideline, whereas
No,
SNAP,
I'm
they
just
have their
after
own.
making sure that the people most needy are the ones getting the LIEP, and make sure that it correlates. We don't want to be missing a few people there because they're not aware of the program.
I think, may I add? I think going back to Senator Kashu's recommendation also, sometimes we gotta be careful because of confidentiality issues. Some of these family members were not privy to release their information. What we've tried doing to address the unified application process is we brought the client serving divisions or programs to like the community youth center at one point, and then we invited agencies. That way, if I need childcare is right there. I need to refer my parents to aging office, aging is right there. I need to avail of LIHEAP's right there. NAP is right there. So a lot of interagency referrals, but we need the consent of the families that we're serving. Okay, unless they give us a release of consent, then we can say, Rosel, Mr. So-and-so is interested in your program.
So maybe I'm thinking more of, at least you should know that the program is fair. So at least look at it and at least be informed that this concern that we have is not a concern. That's all I'm asking.
Yes.
Because I bring this up because I guess I'm going to repeat myself. There was a program at housing, right, after the typhoon. And it seems like nobody checked NAP, or we don't even have in the Commonwealth a list that says who are the people in the low income that are getting public assistance. We should target those programs to those people first. And so I just want to see a sense in the government that those that are helping the poor, make sure that you don't only take care of your department. If there's an opportunity out there, work with those people, because if they avail of that, maybe you might not need to help them as much now, because now they don't have to worry about paying rent for a house or what, because they got free housing, right? I mean, I wonder how many in your food stamp list got a free house. Do you guys know that? I mean, we should know it, right? We should say, oh man, we got in the CNMI 1,000 recipient.
Yeah.
How many of those 1,000 recipients got a free home after Typhoon U2 whose house are damaged? Can you say there's 20 of them out of 1,000, or and then is that 50% of the housing recipient? We don't know, right? But I think this is our job, to make sure when there are programs, that the programs are tailored to reach out those people in need, right? Not those people that have inside information or knowledge, right? And that I just want to feel like, since you're helping the poor, make sure when there's program out there, when they give free electric fan, make sure that they get first the electric fans. They don't have to line up somewhere, delivered to their house or something, right? To the manamkos
And
so
a lot
that's
of our divisions case manage, and that's the whole, And I remember, Senator Poe, you did bring this up before, and yes, your intention is also our intentions. It's just where there's a way to work it, like the one-stop shop. And like I said, we've introduced it at the centers. We case manage. I know our families may have common needs with Walter's families that he's case managing, and vice versa. But making sure that they take advantage of others. So, we, from getting birth certificates to mayor's ID to paying for that blue card to go to school for immunization, you name it. We have done every single thing. So what I'm seeing you asking us to do is kind of get somebody to kind of oversee this whole process and making sure that resources are maximized. So, and less burden on the family. So we are making note of that.
Like for example, people are receiving housing voucher, right, for rental. Are those people all getting LIAP? And why, assuming they're all U.S., why not?
So because they receive housing allowance, utility allowance under their housing assistance.
So you cross-check so that they don't get double, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm running out of my time, so I'm just going to ask one thing on the Division of Youth Services. I don't know your need for extra FTE, but I am alarmed at the child abuse and neglect case. I think if you look at the statistics in U.S., we're maybe like 13, 14, right? If you were a state, we're like right at the top. That's a big, it's an alarming number. And imagine all the unreported cases.
Correct.
So if you add that, I don't know what's
It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. Everybody needs to picture 9 how many? 9 over here. You guys are handling 1,007 kids. I'll speak on behalf of our staff. It's really hard.
509 child abuse.
That's cases.
Yeah,
But the number of
1,400.
children, we're at 1,007 right now. 1,004 is last fiscal year. So sometimes when I go out and conduct our outreach, I like to say people are more aware. They're more comfortable. They know where to go to report. That's one of the reasons why our awareness efforts is really working. That's why we're getting a lot of reports. But we do know that there's still a lot of unreported cases.
So you're asking for FTEs?
I'm asking for FTEs across, so CPS. With the grant writer, I can do it. I've been doing it for so many years. I don't mind the compliance part, but I need somebody else to sit down and just work on getting more money in while I focus on the program development. And then the rest, of course, the juveniles and so forth.
Thank you, Senator Paul. I think time is running out, but I'll just have a few follow-up questions, and then we'll end with 2 more from the 2 members that have requested. Going back to the LIHEAP quickly, I know you mentioned that we're not going to get the federal support anymore for next fiscal year. So if that's the case and all you have left is a local money, would you now have the flexibility to adjust the requirements?
The only flexibility I would adjust is, it's not really nice to say, but reduction in benefit.
Okay, but now we have that flexibility
And-
because now it becomes a local program, correct?
Yes.
And so I hope that could be
Well,
considered
yes.
in a sense. So rather than looking at the 110%, we can now equate it to the NAP's 100%, right? Thank you. CCAC, you mentioned that there has been an increase in artists that is reported or registered. I visited an artist when we had the Coconut Fair on Rhoda, and he mentioned that artists, if anyone would like to purchase something from an artist, they don't require a business license. Is that correct?
No. The law that is out is if they're earning less than 70,000 per annum on their products, it does not require them to file for BGR. So they're mistaking that all the artists are required to have business license, but like Tax and Rev has also been very lenient with them, given that most of them are seasonal artists. They only come out once a year to sell their products. But Tax and Rev has been very lenient with them. Like I said, that we submit like the request for payment. They'll call us and say they need business license. We will tell them. Sometimes they just, I think, let them go, given that it's only once or twice a year that we would submit payment for their products.
Maybe something that we can work on or consider is maybe possibly go through your office, and because a lot of government entities would like to purchase products from these artists and present it as gifts or whatever it may be. And so the challenge is the munis number and the business license. And so if your office could be an entity that governments can buy from, and then you buy from these artists or something to that effect, that's something that we can address. That concern and that challenge with our artists, and
Yes.
hopefully that's something that we can improve on and get more artists out with their products.
Once we have a gallery, because right now our office is that one small square down at the Carolinian Affairs office, and most of our artworks from our artists, we put them in an aircon office, like there are some at the Carolinian Affairs office. There's some that was brought to the governor's office just to preserve the painting. All else is in the container.
Okay.
And so we're really looking forward to having a good office, because if our grantors come out to the CNMI and we don't have gallery, they're really going to cut everything, because it's that gallery in our grant application that's keeping the funding coming our way. So I'm looking forward to having a permanent office.
Okay.
And
Rhoda can be that permanent office, if anything. Right?
Rhoda
You
sure
have a
is.
great
Rhoda's already
gallery
said with
there.
with their gallery. We're still working on Saipan and Tinian.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nap, do you have data on how much, for example, how much NAP or food stamps get dropped off on Rhoda, but how much of that stays within Rhoda's economy versus how much is being spent on Saipan?
I apologize, but we do not collect that kind of data.
So that's not something that you can cross check and say 5 million goes to Rhoda, and how much does Rhoda Bank
spend
of
over
Guam
there,
collects or something
and
like
then-
that? That's not something that is being tracked.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
Okay.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. And then DYS and DCC. So, or I guess CCA in general, what is OGM's role basically when it comes to your grants? And do you have a designated staff from OGM that does all these support or assistance with any of your grant management?
No.
So everything is 100% done by your division, your department?
In terms of grant writing, grant compliance, so
zero IDC goes to you despite all those grants that you guys manage, correct?
no. So what OGM gets involved with is just processing our first stop for our allotments.
Okay.
And setting up our accounts or reprogramming.
Okay. So I think that's a provision that our LAs can draft and for the committee to consider. And then lastly, for HPO, you said Capitol Hill Complex. Does that include the legislature or the governor's office?
Yes, but the only thing that we did an assessment for here is the legislature's archive building. So we're repairing that.
Archive building?
Yes.
Separate from this building?
Yes. This building, unfortunately, we cannot because it disqualified the eligibility for us to fix it because of the extensions that's been going on. So.
Okay, so we can't get our aircon.
No.
Thank you.
It's your archive building that we are going to be working on soon.
Thank you for those updates.
You're welcome.
Again, members, we're going to wrap up, so I'm going to quickly recognize Vice President and then Senator Castro, and then we'll close out.
Thank you, Chair. Just real brief. I just want to acknowledge and thank Mrs. Candy for providing the clarifications to my inquiry. I really appreciate that. And thank you for sharing the needs of your office. And so I'll be in touch with you to discuss further and see how we can assist here at the legislature. I'd also like to offer my assistance. If you'd like, I can help facilitate meetings with the mayor's office, Parks and Recs, MVA, whoever is willing to collaborate and partner up with HPO to help with the maintenance of these sites, because I think it's very important that we maintain them, and so that you don't only have to clean it once a year on May when it's that time of the year. And so I'll be more than happy to help facilitate those meetings with you. Maybe we can get an MOA or MOU out of these agencies so that we can help each other. So I'll be in touch. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Vice
you,
Chair.
Senator Castro.
So I just wanted to go back to that unified application. And when I heard the statements earlier that, we have caseworkers and there's a referral process, I think that's the issue, is we shouldn't need a referral process like the way, the data is all mostly the same. And if we cross-train our employees and designate them to kind of that's the downside of being 100% funded by by one, but other agencies are doing that where they get pool of money from this grant, pool of money from that grant. Then instead of paying our food stamp employees like 20,000, we can bump it up to 30 or 40. But the main thing here is you cannot say that we cannot do this or we have this referral process, because almost every state in the United States has a similar process to what I just mentioned. You go to one agency at social service and it's a unified application, like you'll forward to the thing. So if we were able to do it at NMC, like for how many years it wasn't done? It took one person to say, we're not doing this again. We are moving forward to change the game. And that's why I implore those responsible with the application process to link and really get this done, because we're already in 2025. And it's the same when I saw one of the sisters from Maturana going through zoning, going through like they made her go through like 7 that manomko, like to see an old lady do all of that process. We're supposed to be doing it different. Like that's within our culture, like to really assist. But sometimes when we're used to doing it a certain way, we just continue. And I'm not attacking you guys, but I'm just stressing because we can do it better.
May I just comment on that? Yeah. We currently have a program under the Office on Aging called the Access Assistance Program. It derived from a program that we used to have called the Aging and Disability Resource Center / Connection. This is basically a one-stop center for seniors and people with disabilities. They can stop by at the Office on Aging, and if they want to be able to know more about NAP, they want to know more about the eligibility requirement with our partnering agencies, not just within our department, but also outside, we help them. I believe what our acting secretary is referring to, and I wanted to also echo the concern, is the fact that if we have a specific person, let's say for example Mona handling a one-stop thing or a team, anything aging related will not be shared with that group. It has to come from us so we can protect that information for the seniors, and then we can have that senior apply, or we can help them, because we've been doing this. We help them apply for NAP. Then we go meet with the person up at NAP and Margaret, and we would actually work on distributing their benefits, but everything streamlines. And I think that's what you're trying to get to, right? Streamlining the system so it's a little bit more efficient. But there are certain concerns in regards to confidentiality that does make things a little bit more difficult to just pass it on to DCCA, for example. So there's one thing that I wanted to also bring up to your attention, at least in our end, because we have a demographic that we have set to be able to assist in that area. So although we are separated in 3 different islands, Saipan, Rota, and Tinian, we still operate as one state unit on aging. So we have one state plan. Our plan applies to all 3 islands. So with the outreach that you guys brought up in regards to LIHIP or NAP, within the Office on Aging, we do contribute those information, and we do assist our division family or department families within our demographics. And I know that DYS does pretty much the same thing. We do work together as a team. I applaud my group. These guys here are awesome. I've worked with them for over a decade, and I can't be prouder. But information, feedback like that, Senator, I love it. Those are great informations, and it gives us the opportunity to be able to share what we currently do right now. And it doesn't mean that just because we're doing it this way that we're not going to be able to evolve, right? Nowadays, we can tap into technology, and we're working closely with broadband right now to be able to come down to the centers, Saipan Road and Tinian, to be able to teach our elders. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is the telehealth, being able to, talk to your doctor. And we talk about not being able to have the transportation. You can, from your house, you can just take your cell phone. Everybody has a cell phone nowadays. Click on a single app, click on the doctor you prefer to see, or just outline if you want to know about LIHIP, for example. We had a website up, and we're working on improving it. It's called the Aging and Disability Resource Center /connection, where it can actually reach out to every single service provider on the island via app. But we need to go out and teach our elders, especially the ones that we go on homebound. And that's where we are right now. We're not stagnant. I'm a little bit obsessive, compulsive. I grow, I expand as a manager, and my team are practically there to be able to help get our mission, accomplished. And that's what we're doing. Yeah. And sorry, this is a good opportunity since you brought up the whole, learning about food. We are working on doing a cookbook featuring our Manamko. If you guys have time, check out their Facebook page and their YouTube page, because they're going to be sharing their stories. I got permission by their families to be able to share some of these stories that they shared, with their experience during the war. A lot of our elders are not with us right now, but you get to see their story on YouTube. I've been saving this, and I've been getting permission to be able to share it. So music videos, commercials, advertisements, their movie. I don't know if you guys are aware, but about 3-4 years ago, they actually produced a full feature film called the Forgotten Island or something like that. And we aired it at the movie theaters. And I want to be able to continue that route, because there's so much that we do at the center. And what we're doing here is we're just giving them something to look forward to. A lot of our elders, they fall into depression and they develop anxiety. And you guys know that even if they have a lot of grandkids, not everybody wants to hang out with grandma, right? So what if we, get involved and get them into doing the things that they like to do? Maybe they have some kind of like a mutual, interests, like TikTok. We're trying to get our seniors getting involved so that we can try to keep them active and involved. So give us a few more months and you're going to start to see progressively a lot of the things that we're doing. And I'm very proud of the data that I'm sharing with you guys right now, because despite all of our financial challenges, check it out. This speaks to itself, okay? And I give all the credit to my team. It's very difficult. And when I say team, I'm not just talking about my staff. I'm talking about our seniors. I'm talking about my manager, the fellow managers here, our awesome secretary, Mr. Frank Rubaliman. He's always very supportive. You guys are a big part of that. A lot of times, our legislators, our governor, reach out to me, Vice. We've been chatting a lot about all of our challenges, and thank you guys so much for all your feedback and for showing up to the Manamko. You guys don't know how much that means to them when you guys show up during their Christmas programs, or when you show up and you see them do their thing, because those are the things that matters. We've lost close to 15 of our seniors in the past year, and it's just very difficult for me to be able to keep adjusting, just keep moving forward with that kind of emotional burden. But I was just sharing with Senator Calvo that we have a lot of interactions with the youth, and being able to keep culture alive, being able to have like maybe the youth versus the Manamko in sports activities to keep them active. We one of the things that I always echo is that a lot of times the parents, they would sacrifice so much to be there for their children's programs, right? Growing up. And when it's the Manamko's time, their grandmas or their parents, we have our own Christmas recital. And I look out and I see only 15 people in the audience. I'm like, wow, come on. I want them to show up. And, so we keep doing that promotional dialogue to be able to encourage people to stay connected. We don't have a nursing home here. Hopefully in the future there's probably something going in that regards, because our program specifically caters to our active seniors and those who are homebound and with very limited service access, assistance, support services, counseling, respite for our caregivers, and of course the most important thing is the meals, the nutrition program that I'm literally begging you guys to help us out with. So hopefully I said enough, but at the end of the day, I said my piece, and I'm gonna leave the ball in your court now to be able to help us out. Thank you.
Just a quick response.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is not an attack on the department. It's more of a suggestion about the process. It's always the process, because that's all of our jobs to make it better for our people. So it doesn't have to be something fancy like an online application. It can just be one big DCCA application, and it gets forwarded. Even if you want to go back to carbon copy, that's what we did before at the college. Carbon copy, but instead of the students routing it, we routed it internally. And we cross-train our staff to be able to certify certain things. And the beauty of it is that's how your department is designed. It's designed to be synergized. You're not a different department. You're one department with different divisions. So whether it's from your office to your office, the data sharing, get with the AG if you need legal guidance. But like even with educational records and HIPAA, usually it's the same criteria if it's gonna benefit the person, rather than harm them. And especially if you're the same agency, you should be able to share that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. In closing, I just want to thank you all for your presence here today and your patience and understanding. I do want to note that while I did mention that a lot of these cuts that I've brought up were made from the House, I don't want to put the blame, or I don't want you to go down to your representatives and ask them why certain things happened. The main reason was that the budget proposal that was submitted included a $29 million loan, which the administration had planned into this budget, but the loan is a separate issue. It's a separate legislation that is making its way, or it's already here in the Senate. The House had passed that yesterday, and it'll all come down to whether or not we proceed with the loan to be able to fund these additional FTEs that you have seen in the governor's proposal, as well as the funding that is tied to some of the activities that you propose. And so that is all to be determined before October 1st, or maybe even after, if the Senate is needing additional time to deliberate on that MPLT loan. But this is not to say that the House had intentionally cut off these FTEs and the funding for those FTEs, but it's more so on the mechanism in which the MPLT loan is under consideration by the legislature. And so I just want to make that clear, and so that you don't go and pass on the blame to any of your House representatives. And so with that, I'd like to hand the floor back to you, Acting Secretary, for any closing statements you'd like to offer.
I know we're closing. Just quickly, two things for consideration that I want to emphasize. First, the LIHEAP. Just to remind everybody, LIHEAP office shut down, so worst case scenarios, we're not going to get the federal part of the benefit. So the numbers that you're seeing up there is going to be cut in half if and when we stick to the 160,000. Also for the Language Commission, when we were in front of the House, they asked me about the vacant position for the Admin Officer 3. We actually already filled that. And I noticed that I was caught with that vacant was struck out. But please restore that, because we have the personnel on board already. So I am short of that $39,000, which is exactly what that position is funded for. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Our LAs will make note of that, and we'll try to see how we can address that.
Thank you.
Um,
Other than that, we thank all of you for the opportunity to hear us out this afternoon. I also asked the division heads to provide a short written response on information that we were not able to provide today. But we hope for again, I know everybody's trying to grab on to, this is not just us, we have other departments, PSS and so forth, but also considering the nature of the services that we provide, we would like to be considered for those positions that we requested for.
Thank you. Thank you. And at the very least, what the committee can consider is the proposal on the IDCs, at least for some of that to go back into the agencies. And once again, thank you to all of you, all the division managers, and to the staff present here today. Just one more thing, is Maribel still here?
I'm sorry, she had to step out
That's okay.
earlier.
I will reach out to her offline. And so with that, members, you have anything under announcements? If there's none, can I get a motion for the adjournment?
Motion to adjourn, Chair.
All right. There was a motion that was made and seconded. Any objections? There being none, this budget hearing is hereby adjourned at 5:13 p.m.